Chapter 1185. When the other players saw the ferocious speech in the Big Shots group chat, they were even more shocked. You're already such a big shot, yet you've never thought about being a human? And you're even going to billion deity to show your face? The people in the live stream almost stopped breathing from laughing. I really didn't expect that my big shot Jin would become a lackey leader one day. Why do I feel like laughing so much? F***ck, a big shot playing with us? What kind of dream is this of a billion esports fans? Sob sob sob. Yao Yao has grown up. She actually got billion deity. I'm going crazy, I'm going crazy. Yao Yao has suddenly turned into a queen and is choosing a big shot to play with. Billion deity. You'll really fall into the hands of a woman if you pamper her so much. You'll fall into the hands of a woman. Spectre's muttering. Ha 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 ha, I give up. This time, Wang Kai's fans are so angry that their hearts are hurting. Indeed. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai's fans turned off their microphones. Even Song Yao's agent, who was originally waiting in the limousine, accidentally clicked on Song Yao's personal account and realized that something was amiss. It was still 10.5 million yesterday. Now it had soared to 16 million. And it was still breaking through. It had only been a few hours. Song Yao's agent reacted and immediately clicked on the comment section where Song Yao was being scolded. He did not expect the scene to change. The hot comments were all about Song Yao and billion deity. What's the relationship between Song and billion deity? Song Yao's agent was still puzzled. Scrolling down to read the comments, not only were billion deity's fans happy, but there were also Wang Kai's fans who had scolded Song Yao previously. However, they were torn apart by billion deity's fans and did not dare to retort. Billion deity's friendship love will be protected by us. No. Sister Yao, please do a good deed and let billion deity come out to compete. This child has not seen Daddy Billion in a long time. Sob sob sob. Billion deity's family is seducing your brother? An unknown celebrity is trying to make trouble with my top esports girl? Puzzled, Song Yao's agent's eyes were unfocused. She suddenly felt that the world had become unfamiliar. At the same time, on the stage, with a big shot leading the way, Song Yao's team members were indeed winning without doing anything. However, they did not expect that halfway through the match, Dai Cheng and Kaka would be fighting energetically. Wang Kai did not know what was on his mind, but he was only chasing after Song Yao's account. Although Song Yao's maneuvering was not bad, she was indeed not as good as Wang Kai, who had almost entered Team 2. Billion Deity's winning rate was cut down. The live broadcast room was extremely distressed. Everyone was scolding Wang Kai. What's wrong with Wang Kai? Chasing after Song Yao and attacking? No way, no way. Cutting down Billion Deity's account can satisfy his pleasure? Esports fans were more or less biased. After all, in their hearts Billion Deity was an incomparable big shot. He was in existence on the same level as Almighty Qin. Especially when they saw Wang Kai apologizing with a greasy smile while beating up Song Yao. Billion Deity is so great. He can't even touch her? Esports players can't even afford to play. What a joke. Who can't afford to play? He doesn't dare to provoke other esports players, so he chases after a female celebrity. Is he very cool? After the match, Daiqing easily crushed Kaka, but Song Yao was also abused very badly. According to the score of this round, Song Yao's team lost. Song Yao, follow me later, Daiqing said indifferently. Song Yao smiled faintly. No need. She followed Daiqing. Daiqing had to destroy a tower with a human head and protect her. She was going to lose the next round. Daiqing did not say anything. When the next round started, Daiqing tried his best to control the time and kill Kaka as soon as possible. Chapter 1186. But Daiqing was also a little angry. He wanted to kill Wang Kai first, but Kaka kept pestering him. These two didn't seem to want to win. They just wanted to deliberately increase Billion God's chances of winning. Who was they trying to disgust? And the mission that Billion Gods gave them was to just bring Song Yao to win. Seeing that Billion Gods' chances of winning had dropped to 99%, Billion Gods fans almost exploded. And the people in the first row just looked at the screen indifferently. Song Yao's team still had a good chance of winning. Currently it was 2-1. Song Yao, if you can't do it, then hide over to my side. Daiqing didn't forget to say to Song Yao. Song Yao responded, and could only deal with Wang Kai, who was sticking to her. But 10 minutes later, no one expected that Song Yao would suddenly go all out. While Wang Kai wasn't paying attention, she used a skill, and the two of them ended the match. F***ck, Sister Yao is pretty good. She's a bit like Billion Gods. She has a pure and harmless face, but she's using the most ruthless moves. As expected of someone who was taught by Billion Gods. Yes, Wang Kai was a youth trainee after all. It's good enough that he could draw. Sigh. I was originally a fan of Wang Kai, but now, no matter how I look at it, I feel disgusted. This match, Song Yao actually didn't have it easy. Opposite her, Wang Kai's expression was a little ugly. Clearly, he hadn't expected that Song Yao would play this move without a care for her life. But with Song Yao finishing off Wang Kai, Daiqing still won. The stadium was filled with cheers. Sister Yao is so strong. Someone shouted to cheer for Song Yao. Upon seeing this, the person in the first row, who was pulling his hat to cover his eyes, could not help but curl his lips lazily, mouthing two words to Song Yao, not bad. Song Yao felt a little embarrassed. As for the rest, many of them felt sorry for the soft-hearted girl, who was trying to perish together with her opponent. Hence, suddenly, they heard someone shouting at the top of his voice. Billion Gods, are you sure you can do it? Are you going to watch as your wife is being abused? Pei Yunj was speechless. Immediately afterward, the originally angry atmosphere was instantly amused and became much more harmonious. No one was sure whether Billion Gods was present or not. They just wanted to cheat and see. However, no one noticed that a few minutes later, the person in the first row really put on his coat lazily, lowered his hat, and walked toward the door. Song Yao glanced in the direction where Pei Yunj had left, and did not think much of it. He was prepared to rest for a while before starting the next round. Backstage. Song, I'm a fan of Billion Gods. Can I have Billion Gods' contact information? The female lead asked excitedly. Song Yao hesitated. I'll go back and ask. Oh really? Thank you Song. The female lead's eyes lit up. When the others heard this, they immediately pounced forward to inquire. Song Yao was tight-lipped. She knew how to protect Pei Yunj's identity. She smiled warmly and stealthily changed the topic, until she returned to the stage. Originally, it was Jian who wanted to go on stage and bring Song Yao along. However, just before the team was formed, Song Yao suddenly saw a message request. User XCYGY had requested to join the team battle. It was a smurf account with no level. Before Song Yao could react, there was a burst of excited screams from the audience. Billion Gods. Song Yao came back to her senses and realized that the first letter was spelled, earn 100 million first. The live stream exploded. F***ck. Billion Gods is really here? Isn't this the spelling of a smurf Billion Gods? Ha 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 ha. Isn't Wang Kai going to die? Chapter 1187. Are Wang Kai's fans ready? I'm going to die. Ishan is actually here. Sob. The woman at the top of the esports food chain. There were more and more people in the live stream room. Even the hashtag Song Yao Ishan had rushed to the top of the trending search list. Then, half of the esports circle was mobilized just to watch Ishan's live stream. Wang Kai's expression was ugly. The hand that was holding the mouse was trembling slightly. Even though he had left the circle, he knew what kind of status Ishan had in the circle. But was it really Ishan? At this moment, Song Yao hesitated for a moment and sent a message to XCYGY. Where are you? After typing this sentence, Song Yao deleted it again and sent another sentence. What happened to you? The people in the live stream room were scratching their heads as they looked at the chat box. In the internet cafe, Pei Yunj casually put his jacket aside and threw the plastic bag to the side. Then he leisurely typed on the keyboard. I have to do it. I can't watch my family get beaten up. Just as this message was sent, Song Yao could almost imagine this person's mischievous look. But because Pei Yunj was responding to what he had just said, there was another round of excited screams. Ishan would also joke in private. But in the eyes of the audience, Ishan and a soft girl like Song Yao were together. It was as if Yi Shun was bullying Song Yao every day. But there was actually a bit of flirting. Song Yao gathered her thoughts and looked at the others. She asked politely, "That can she be our external help?" Everyone was speechless. Was this a F*King 360-degree spiraling technique okay? But there were also people who were worried. Yi Shun is opening a new account. Isn't the level difference too big? There's no need to look down on others. After all, Kaka is still very powerful. Yi Shun's maneuvering is a little funny. Following that, Song Yao connected to her mic. She tried to ask, "Is the new account okay?" Unexpectedly, the other party had already used a voice changer to adjust his voice. "You can't say that I can't." Song Yao was speechless. There was laughter in the live streaming room. Ha 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 ha. Yi Shun is openly flirting. I've reported him. Sister Yao, the pretty girl, is speechless. Song Yao's eyelids twitched. She was a little worried that Pei Yunj would put her reputation on the line. I'm serious. There are professional players on the other side. That person's lazy voice could be heard leisurely. Do you still need to look at who the other party is? As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere immediately exploded. Ah, my Yi Shun has cracked. He has exploded. My Yi Shun has fallen. The competition was about to begin. Wang Kai took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He did not believe that anyone could use a smurf account to compete with a professional player who was close to the maximum level. At the thought of this, Wang Kai's gaze was fixed on Pei Yunj. There was a strange glint in his eyes. As long as he could kill Yi Shun in this round, he would definitely attract a lot of attention. He could even let the company by trending searches and trample on Yi Shun, who was worshipped by everyone, to gain more attention and popularity. At the same time, compared to Dai Chung and the others who were present just now, Song Yao also ran to Pei Yunj's side very naturally. Ha 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 ha. Sister Yao is openly hugging his thigh. She was still cold to Dai Chung just now. Once Yi Shun returned, Sister Yao changed. I don't believe that there's nothing fishy about this. Seeing Song Yao using Yi Shun's account to seek protection from a level 0 smurf account, the scene was inexplicably hilarious. Chapter 1188. When Wang Kai saw this scene, he sneered. He was controlling his character to deal with the others nearby. But 3 minutes later, XCYGY effortlessly took the first clear on Kaka. The strongest esports player in the team was sliced like a cabbage in the hands of this person? It made the other opponent's hair stand on end. Damn. What kind of walking human head reaper was this? F***CK. 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 Kaka, who achieved the first kill in 3 minutes at level 0? This is fucking cheating. 100 million deities basic operation. Sit down. Ha 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 ha. Million gods. That's it? Okay, now everyone can watch and see what it means to bring a girl to play. I've earned it, I've earned it. I can actually see million gods in a celebrity show. Then came the next. The screen showed a level 0 alt account slowly harvesting heads. She seemed to be operating it effortlessly. It was as if the battlefield was her home ground. As for the audience, they were so shocked that their blood was boiling when they saw Million Gods operation. This was a true level 0 alt account crushing the whole field and beating them with her strength. But very soon, the audience realized the problem. The last person left was Wang Kai. He was the warrior who chased after Song Yao in the previous 2 rounds. Wang Kai was so nervous that his hand that was holding the mouse was sweating. At this moment, Pei Yunj finished the last cut and turned to look at Wang Kai. He asked in a calm and leisurely voice, "Friend, I heard that you're very good at hacking?" Wang Kai was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. His mind was in a mess, and his back was getting cold. Obviously, Million Gods was here to support Song Yao. Ha 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 ha, Million Gods, your grudge is too obvious. Light a stick of incense for warrior Wang Kai. It's been a long time since someone has been remembered by Million Gods. In this Lifetime series, I actually ate the candy given by Million Gods. Subsequently, Pei Yunj threw away the weapon with high damage and randomly picked up a low-level weapon. Wang Kai gritted his teeth and made up his mind. He planned to learn from Song Yao and fight it out with Pei Yunj. No matter what, It could be considered as a slap to Million God's face. But he did not expect that Pei Yun's control and positioning would be faster. He was unable to use his high-end skill points after this move left him in a critical condition. Kaka, who was watching the battle from the side, felt his scalp go numb. He recalled the time when Pei Yun destroyed his camp with 5 kills in half a minute. Million Gods was still Million Gods. He was simply not human. What's the hurry? Don't be in a hurry to die. Pei Yun's tone was leisurely, as if he was teasing, but there was no warmth in it. Subsequently, others saw that Pei Yun's slash only left a little bit of Wang Kai's HP. This was not killing, it was killing. In such a big public place, Pei Yun only left Wang Kai alone. He slowly slashed his HP bit by bit. Opposite him, Wang Kai's face was green and red. His hands were holding onto the keyboard, and his entire body was trembling with anger. The fans in the live streaming room also began to curse. What does Million Gods mean? Just because you are a professional player, you humiliate an artist like this? Do you have any upbringing? That's too intolerant, isn't it? Is this the attitude of a god in the esports circle? He's openly targeting Wang Kai. However, Million Gods fans had long been displeased with Wang Kai because of the fact that his winning percentage had been slashed. Is it a dog who is chasing after Song Yao? Puzzled. You don't have to care about what happens in the esports circle. When Million Gods was winning glory for the country, your brother was probably still repairing his face in the factory. It's good that you know this is the esports circle. Here, being noob is the original sin. P.S. Good night. Can I get some monthly votes from this kid today? Chapter 1189. Most of Wang Kai's fans did not know how many fans Yi Shen had. However, at this moment, when they saw Yi Shen's fans flooding the live stream with one sentence, they felt helpless. They knew that they had provoked a big shot. Then, Pei Yun slowly hacked for more than 10 minutes before he completely sent Wang Kai away. It was a crushing victory. In the next round, Pei Yun repeated the same action. Wang Kai was so angry that he almost threw his mouse and left. However, the director immediately pulled him back and persuaded him. If his relationship with Yi Shen became strained, it would be impossible for him to establish an esports persona in the future. Wang Kai took a deep breath and could only endure it. There were people in the live stream who could not help but sigh. Yi Shen is really arrogant. It can't be helped. A lot of people like her. It's human nature to admire the strong. When Yi Shen was playing in a professional competition, even the boss of the opposing team came to support Yi Shen. This is top-notch. Yi Shen is lawless. Yi Shen is lawless. Plus 10,086. You're blaming your girlfriend for dragging you down. Come and take a good look. Yi Shen is leading the entire team. To be honest, it's so cool to be led by Yi Shen. As long as Yao Yao's sister is injured, Yi Shen will cripple her. This esports friendship is so damn sweet. After 3 rounds, Wang Kai's expression was ugly. He went straight to Song Yao's resting room to apologize to her. Song Yao raised her eyebrows in surprise. Then, she saw Pei Yun leaning against the door from the corner of her eyes. Got it. You can go back. Song Yao responded politely. After Wang Kai left, she was silent for a moment. You, Yi Shen. Song Yao played God maps too. She knew what level Yi Shen was in the esports circle, but she did not expect Yi Shen to be by her side. He even worked tirelessly to help her level up. Pei Yun rubbed the back of her fair neck. She did not meet Song Yao's gaze. I think so. Song Yao. The atmosphere was silent again. If you tell me one day that you're Yi Shen, I might not be surprised, Song Yao said slowly. She could not tell if she was angry or not. Pei Yun. Song Yao had always been interested in Yi Shen. The reason was that Yi Shen had been her recommendation. If Pei Yun had not stopped her, Song Yao might have wanted to learn computer science to be closer to Yi Shen. Pei Yun let out an ah and quickly changed the topic. Later, my brother will come to find me. Song Yao did not need to think to know which brother it was. Pei Yun even asked, want to have a meal together? Song Yao. We'll talk about it later. If your brother comes, you can leave with him first. Song Yao really thought so. Pei Yun, on the other hand, did not know if Song Yao was angry or not, so she stayed. After the competition ended, Pei Yunj sat in the first row with her eyes closed. She crossed her arms lazily and dozed off. Song Yao had just sat on Pei Yunj's left, when she realized that there was a man sitting on Pei Yunj's right. Under the dim lights, the man's light-colored eyes were devoid of emotion. His outstanding looks made one unable to take their eyes off him. He looked at Pei Yunj next to her lazily. His well-defined hand was carrying the bag of snacks for Pei Yunj. Pei Yunj's hand was still hooked around the bag. She did not realize that the weight was wrong. Suddenly, Pei Yunj's head leaned toward Song Yao. He leaned on her shoulder steadily. Song Yao felt Huashida's gaze shift. The next moment, Song Yao sensibly stretched out her index finger and gently tapped on Pei Yunj's forehead, pushing it in the opposite direction. Pei Yunj leaned on the man's shoulder again. Chapter 1190. Song Yao tugged at her cloak and left without saying a word. Only then did the people around them realize that a handsome and noble man had appeared out of nowhere. He had actually beaten up Song Yao's bad-tempered friend and carried her up. Everyone's eyes widened. This was the official couple. Were they here to take it seriously? In the man's arms, the girl, whose face could not be seen clearly, placed her slender wrist lazily on the man's shoulder. She looked up at him with sleepy eyes. "Where are my snacks?" Huashida laughed. Sengsu took them. The man's body exuded a faint but unique fragrance. There was also a faint smell of tobacco. It was gentle and magical. His warmth spread from his chest, making one's heart palpitate uncontrollably. Pei Yunj's eyes were unclear, but a feeling called possessiveness suddenly welled up in her mind. She didn't want Huashidu to hug someone else like this again. Pei Yunj rarely interacted with Huashidu so intimately, especially in public. Although she enjoyed the steadiness of this embrace, she gradually woke up. She looked up and saw the man's clean and distinct jawline. His sexy Adam's apple was slightly protruding, and her heart couldn't help racing. "Brother, you should put me down." Although Pei Yunj noticed that Sengsu had a numb and natural expression on his face, she felt inexplicably awkward. Pei Yunj, who was used to not being a person, felt guilty for the first time. Huashida had always respected Pei Yunj's wishes, so he agreed. However, for some reason, Pei Yunj felt that the man's attitude towards her today was indifferent. Pei Yunj hesitated for a moment. Just as she was about to go over and pull the sleeve of his suit, the man avoided her, whether intentionally or unintentionally. "Pei Yunj? ? Did this dog have eyes in the back of his head?" However, the next moment, Pei Yunj received Song Yao's message and opened it. "Yao Mimi, your brother's gaze is too scary bitter." Song Yao met the gaze of death for the first time. "Yinge? Yinge. He's showing me the greatest respect by not going out to seduce others." Pei Yunj had always felt that Huashida was polite and gentle to everyone. In layman's terms, the dog seemed to be flirting with everyone. "Sister Yao, you're wrong. Sister Yao, if you keep this attitude, your brother will devour you until not even your bones are left." Although Song Yao did not have much experience, this was the first time she had met a man like Huashidu. Although he did not seem to care about anything, it seemed that only Pei Yunj was present. His peripheral vision was always on her. Moreover, when Pei Yunj leaned on her shoulder just now, Song Yao could almost feel how scary the man's gaze was. If she was a man, Song Yao did not doubt that Huashidu would cripple her. When Pei Yunj saw the message, the corners of her eyes twitched slightly. "What a mess. Sister Yao, Gur, don't treat a wolf like a little wolf dog. There's a difference between a wolf and a dog." The way that man looked at Pei Yunj was obviously possessive. However, Pei Yunj still fooled around every day without knowing anything. She was not afraid that she would not regret it when the time came. Song Yao's advice was meaningless. Pei Yunj, who had nothing to do every day, fooled around, turned off her phone again. Looking at the man's slender and good-looking back view, the corners of her lips curled up slightly. It was a little familiar. Before the man could react, he suddenly heard a soft sound behind him, accompanied by Pei Yunj's voice. The man instinctively turned his head, but was bumped into by someone. Chapter 1191. Huashidu instinctively reached out to hold her arm. When he lifted his eyes, he saw her smiling at him. He said lazily, What are you doing? Are you trying to blackmail me? Nothing. Pei Yunj smiled and stood on her tiptoes to look at him. I'm touching you, brother. Sing Su's eyelids twitched. Miss Yin Ji's flirting skills were not bad at all. However, for some reason, Huashidu was about to let go of her hand, but Pei Yunj held it tightly. The man stared at her for a while, but in the end, he gave in and allowed her to lead him downstairs. However, as soon as they got downstairs, someone called Huashidu. Pei Yunj could only hear the man lowering his voice and dealing with the person on the phone indifferently. I'll look for you in a few days. Okay. All right. The man didn't say anything, but Pei Yunj let go of Huashida's hand and sat in the passenger seat to wait for him. Huashida looked at her from the corner of his eye. He was about to sit in the driver's seat and take Pei Yunj to dinner. However, he saw Pei Yunj leaning against the window, tapping the window with her fingertips and staring at him with her beautiful eyes. The man was indeed the most eye-catching person in the crowd. Today, the man was wearing a black suit as usual, but inside he was wearing a blue cotton shirt. 2 buttons were loosened lazily, revealing his collarbone, which made his skin look dazzlingly fair. As he spoke on the phone, he glanced at her from the corner of his eye. The way he raised his eyebrows was inexplicably sexy and seductive. Sit properly and behave. Huashida's words were obviously not directed at the person on the phone, but at her. And the person on the phone was silent for a moment. The next moment, Pei Yunj suddenly curved her lips, leaned half of her body out of the car window, and moved closer to the man. She raised her eyebrows and asked arrogantly, Huashidu, who are you talking to? Sing Su, who was next to her, looked at Pei Yunj with the words, I'm up to no good, written all over her face. Miss Pei was out of control. Yu Hanran was silent for a moment on the phone. That ancestor of yours? She actually called Huashidu by his full name. She was really spoiled by Huashidu. The man chuckled softly and glanced at her casually. Yeah, he's not an ancestor. Just now, Yu Hanran was discussing how to get Huashidu to help persuade the 2 elders of the Yu family to let Yu Manran go on a blind date. If this matter continued to develop, Yu Manran might really want to cut ties with the Yu family. And Pei Yunj felt that the other party had mentioned her on the phone, so she silently prepared to shrink back. But the next moment, let's talk next time. I still have something to do, Huashida said casually, and hung up the phone. He conveniently wrapped his arms around her slender waist again. He easily held her in place. She couldn't retreat even if she wanted to. Huashida threw the phone into his pocket and raised his alluring eyes. Pei Yunj also felt the man's fingertips on her waist, rubbing inch by inch. It was extremely ambiguous and deadly. You came out and want to shrink back without doing anything. Are you a tortoise? Pei Yunj. Out of the corner of her eye, Pei Yunj could already feel the gazes of the surrounding people. You. Pei Yunj's heart was beating like a drum, and she was a little stiff. The man's thin red lips curled up. The low laughter of a venomous person fell on her ears with ambiguous heat. You are so thin-skinned, little girl. Huashida was in a good mood. He stretched out his hand and pinched the young lady's cheek. Pei Yunj's face was burning red. Then, Huashida held the car window with one hand and watched Pei Yunj sit back down before returning to the driver's seat. Chapter 1192. When Pei Yunj and Huashida left, Song Yao was standing at the door and saw what had just happened. Song Yao sighed softly. It was hopeless. Pei Yunj had been the top scorer in the country, and old Madame Hua had been happy for an entire week. However, not long after, everyone saw that old Madame Hua was so happy that she wanted to take Pei Yunj out with her. Sung Su wanted to say something but hesitated. In the past few days, Master Du had specially assigned work to accompany Miss Pei out. Grandma, Union doesn't have time. Huashida hung up the phone and turned to look at her. What do you mean? Go, or doesn't want to go out with me? After old Madame Hua finished speaking, she turned to look at Pei Yunj for confirmation. Pei Yunj rubbed the long hair at the back of her head. She had always been very patient with the older generation. She won't either. Look, Gore also wants to go out with me. Old Madame Hua was very arrogant and disdainful. If she doesn't want to go out with me, what's the point of going out with a man like you? Huashidu. Auntie Meow's eyelids twitched. Usually, old Madame Ho was very smart and knew not to let anyone steal Miss Pei away. Why was it that Miss Pei had finally finished her college entrance examination and could finally spend some time with Mr. Hua? Why was she so muddle-headed? Old Madam, why don't you let Miss Pei go out with you after some time? Auntie Meow also quickly said, No, I'm going to take Guer shopping and watch a concert today. I've already prepared the tickets. Old Madame Hua insisted. Pei Yunj slowly rubbed the skin under her eyes with her fingertips. Okay, then when are we going out? Old Madame Hua was overjoyed when she heard that. Look, Guer is much more filial than you. What should do? Pei Yunj went upstairs to change her clothes. When she walked down, she found that Huashidu was the only one in the living room. Brother, aren't you going to work overtime at the company? Pei Yunj asked casually. The man grunted indifferently. At this moment, Pei Yunj suddenly realized. Could it be that Huashidu wasn't going to work and planned to accompany her? Pei Yunj. Not long after. Pei Yunj sat on the edge of the sofa and propped one hand in front of him. She smiled and asked in the man's ear. Then brother, are you going to pick me and Grandma up for dinner tonight? Huashidu could tell that the little girl was trying to coax him. He reached out lazily and pinched her chin. He suppressed the waves in his eyes and whispered in her ear in a low voice. His voice was slightly hoarse and very seductive. Don't coax her later. She'll take you to the old mansion again. His child was good at everything except for the unreasonable behavior of the older generation. This was the first time Pei Yunj had seen Huashidu being defeated. She suppressed the smile on her face and said, Okay. Huashidu looked at the girl in front of him. The faint fragrance on her body made his imagination run wild. He couldn't help but brush her lips with his fingertips, caressing them suggestively. Pei Yunj paused and heard him whisper in her ear. Don't coax others. Coax me more. In the car. I say, Shidu is getting more and more petty. Didn't I just ask you to accompany me out to play? Why didn't you come out to send me off? Old Madame Ho muttered. She turned her head and leaned over to ask. Guer, why don't you stay at the old mansion with me after the concert? Seng Su, who was driving, was speechless. Did old Madame not understand that if this went on, her family would be in danger? Chapter 1193. Although the Su family was indebted to the Hua family, and the Hua family would not do anything to the Su family, the new mistress of the Su family understood the situation very well. Seng Su had asked someone to send Madame Su the information of the unmarried young masters. Madame Su had already guessed what she should do. On the way to the company, Huashidu received a call. It was from Luo Xie. I didn't ask yesterday, but I want to ask you today. Master Du, what do you mean? You called me junior brother again? Luo Xie sounded displeased. Huashidu asked, What? The night before yesterday, I was also at the bar and saw you Jilin and Bei Yunj chatting. This is my junior brother when I was studying. I didn't even know that he had come to Yincheng recently. After Luo Xie finished speaking, Huashidu completely understood. Yu Jilin should be the psychiatrist that the Computing Institute had found for Bei Yunj. Can he be treated in a bar? The man seemed to be talking to himself. His voice was very soft. However, Luo Xie heard him clearly and answered his doubts. He might want to find a relaxing place for the patient to let down his guard. Besides, it's not like a bar is impossible. There are all kinds of people, and it's very easy to see a person's social adaptability. Hearing this, Huashidu curled his lips. Alright, I got it. Luo Xie, ? Was he not going to give him an explanation? If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first, the man said slowly. Luo Xie immediately said, You're not going to give me an explanation? Between you and him, which professional ability is stronger? Huashidu raised his eyebrows and asked again. Of course it's me. I'm in the medical world, okay? Let me tell you. Before Luo Xie could start bragging, Huashidu hung up. The holidays passed very quickly. Bei Yunj's graduation banquet was set for a week before school started. During this period of time, Bei Yunj went to Lin Longjuan's place and the Qin family very frequently. However, on this day, as soon as Bei Yunj walked in, she heard the sound of porcelain shattering inside. Old Master Qin liked to collect antiques. Even the vases in the living room were worth millions. Bei Yunji's eyelids twitched. She didn't know who had made the old man angry. As soon as she walked in, Bei Yunji saw the handprint on Mrs. Qin's face. Her eyes were filled with tears. Mr. Qin couldn't help but scold him softly. "Dad, how could you hitting her? Scram! Get the hell away from me, you bastards!" Bei Yunji heard old Master Qin's angry roar from outside. "Tong Yuang, let me tell you, if you have any conscience, you should compensate Guer well. Instead of spoiling a stranger, who is not related to you by blood like a blind person." Old man Qin pointed at her angrily. "Let me tell you, if you dare to say another word of nonsense, I will pull out your tongue." This was the first time Mrs. Qin had been slapped by her father-in-law. The men of the Qin family never hit women, but this time, it was obvious that they had crossed Old Man Qin's bottom line. Old Master Qin was so angry that his vision turned black. He turned around and fainted. At this moment, Bei Yunji reacted quickly and ran over to support her. "Grandfather." Bei Yunji's clear and melodious voice had a hint of nervousness that she didn't notice. "Dad?" Mr. Qin also became nervous. "Uncle Lu, get the doctor here quickly." After Bei Yunji finished speaking, the butler hurriedly called the private doctor and helped her to the main seat. Bei Yunji's eyes flashed with anger. She glanced at them and said coldly, "What did you say just now?" A hint of awkwardness and guilt flashed across Mr. Qin's face. End of chapter. Chapter 1194. "Guer, I'm fine." Old Master Qin's weak voice trailed from behind, interrupting Bei Yunji's question. It was obvious that Old Master Qin did not want Bei Yunji to know. However, Mrs. Qin's expression was slightly distorted, and she could not help but laugh coldly. "What did you say? You don't know what you've done." The atmosphere froze. However, Bei Yunji suddenly licked her lips and chuckled, saying slowly, "That's too much." "You." Mrs. Qin's face turned green. After that, she gritted her teeth and laughed coldly, unable to suppress her anger. "Isn't it because of you? I booked a hotel for more than a month, but no one dared to rent it to me." She did not want Qin Youjiao to lose her reputation, but she did not expect this to happen. And other than that person from the Hua family, who else had the ability to do this? "Bei Yunji, is it that comfortable to set someone up behind their backs? I really didn't expect you to seduce a man at such a young age." Mother Qin's words were full of sarcasm. Bei Yunji could roughly guess that Huashida might have done it. Although she was a little surprised, it seemed to be Huashida's character. "Qin Ting, aren't you going to scram with your wife?" Old Master Qin's expression was already dark as he held his chest and pointed at them. "You want to cut ties with the Qin family, right? Cut it off now, and don't come back in this lifetime. Grandpa, don't be angry first." Bei Yunji moved her eyebrows and rubbed Old Master Qin's temples. After the private doctor arrived and brought him to check, she slowly looked at Mrs. Qin. "Why are you looking for Grandpa?" Bei Yunji asked. Mrs. Qin narrowed her eyes. They were clearly biological mother and daughter, but they seemed to be the most hated enemy. "I want you to cut ties with the Hua family." At this moment, Mrs. Qin raised her chin. "I'm your mother after all. I can't ignore you." Qin Youjiao had told Mrs. Qin this method. If she asked Bei Yunji to plead with Huashidu, Bei Yunji might not do it. However, Old Master Qin cared about his reputation. He wouldn't let his granddaughter have an ambiguous relationship with a man. Bei Yunji rarely encountered such an annoying situation. She sneered. "What's wrong? Are you short of people to burn paper money for you?" She was indirectly mocking Mrs. Qin for not having a good ending after her death. Since Old Master wasn't around, she couldn't even be bothered to brush him off. Mr. Qin's face darkened, as if blaming her for speaking to her mother in such a manner. Mrs. Qin was furious. She rushed forward and raised her hand, wanting to slap Bei Yunji. However, Bei Yunji suddenly grabbed Mother Qin's wrist and looked at her impatiently, as if she was a dead person. "You." For the first time, Mother Qin was afraid of the person in front of her. She could feel the hostility in Bei Yunji's eyes. Bei Yunji shook him off. Mrs. Qin fell to the ground in a sorry state. "Bei Yunji." Seeing this, Mr. Qin immediately helped Mrs. Qin up nervously and questioned Bei Yunji angrily. Don't you think that you're very uneducated by doing this? Nothing? Uneducated? Bae-yunj asked slowly in a good mood. However, Mr. Chin choked. It was only when a round of applause suddenly sounded outside that Mr. Chin regained his senses and saw Chin Lian walking in. His handsome face was calm, but his dark eyes were so dark that it made people tremble in fear. He walked in and stopped in front of Bae-yunj. Why? Is father planning to say that Gur is uneducated? Chin Lian's voice was calm, but it was filled with cold ridicule. Chapter 1195. If she's really ill-mannered, who do you think is to blame for this? Chin Lian's tone was cold. Even Mr. Chin had always been afraid of his eldest son. Chin Lian had always had a weak sense of kinship and treated everyone the same. However, he did not know when he started to care about Bae-yunj. Lu Yan, I was just angry. Gur pushed her mother just now. Mr. Chin muttered. Where did Gur's mother come from? Didn't they break off their relationship long ago? Chin Lian's calm words made Mrs. Chin and Mr. Chin's faces turn red. Lu Yan, I just wanted to seek justice for Jiao Jiao. It was Bae-yunj who caused trouble behind our backs. Mrs. Chin's eyes were red. She did not understand why no one would listen to her when they were all her children. However, she did not dare to speak harshly to Chin Lian. Didn't I tell you clearly? The man took off his gold-rimmed glasses, losing some of his gentleness and elegance. His ink-like eyes were filled with a dangerous aura that was usually hidden. As long as you let Gur down for Chin Yojiao once, I will make sure that Chin Yojiao can't live anymore. Mrs. Chin's eyes were filled with panic. Lu Yan, I didn't think it through. Don't do this. Everyone present could not understand Chin Lian's temper, but they knew that Chin Lian would do what he said, and his methods were ruthless. Brother, Grandpa is seeing a doctor on the second floor, Bae-yunj suddenly said. Hearing this, a trace of gentleness appeared in Chin Lian's eyes. Okay, Gur, go upstairs first. I'll go upstairs to see Grandpa soon. The new secretary beside him had also noticed. President Chin really doted on Bae-yunj a lot. Bae-yunj hummed calmly and turned to go upstairs. However, when Chin Lian's eyes swept past Mrs. Chin and Mr. Chin again, there was no warmth. He twirled the thin silver ring between his fingers, making his fingers look as slender as jade, as if they were a pleasing work of art. His tone was still calm. Dad, Mom, since you don't listen to me, I can only let Chin Yojiao know what will happen to her if she uses you as a cover to hurt Gur. With that said, Mrs. Chin's face paled. Mr. Chin immediately shouted, Lu Yan, what do you want? I just want Chin Yojiao to know that she's not worthy of being compared to Gur, the man said unhurriedly and walked upstairs. This scene made the new secretary tremble with fear. Was boss threatening his biological parents for the sake of Miss? In a trance. When the new secretary heard Chin Lian and Bae-yunj talking, her voice was soft and unbelievable. Gur, I really like this ring. Thank you. It happened to be Chin Lian's birthday some time ago, so Bae-yunj also gave him a gift. You're welcome. Bae-yunj nodded. Although the atmosphere was silent and awkward, Chin Lian did not feel it at all. He smiled and looked at Bae-yunj beside him. The secretary. It was too surprising. The boss was actually a siscon. No wonder Chin Lian had been wearing this ring all this while. It turned out that eldest Miss had given it to him. After diagnosing old Master Chin, the doctor heaved a sigh of relief and confirmed that old Master Chin was fine. However, he also warned Bae-yunj and the rest that old Master Chin was old and could not get angry easily. A trace of irritation flashed past Bae-yunj's eyes, and she thanked the doctor, saying that there wouldn't be a next time. If there was a next time, she would definitely throw Tong Yueing out personally. Within a few days, Cheng Zihuai also went to the Qin Corporation with a dark expression. Because not only was Qin Yojiao unable to rent a hotel venue, she had also been ordered to withdraw from the International Musicians Association. End of chapter. Chapter 1196. Is there a need? Cheng Zihuai's expression was extremely dark. Young Master Cheng's temper is a little bad now. The man was wearing gold-rimmed glasses and said calmly, Qin Lian, in order to please Bae-yunj, Are you so heartless that you want to destroy Youjiao? Cheng Zihuai questioned. Isn't it only right for a brother to coax his sister? The man's unhurried words made Cheng Zihuai even angrier. When Qin Youjiao was in the Qin family, he had not doted on Qin Youjiao so much. The Qin family really only recognizes blood ties and no feelings. Cheng Zihuai gritted his teeth. Although he had long disliked Qin Lian, even a dog would have more feelings than President Qin, right? Qin Lian snorted. Young Master Cheng is quite good at praising himself. You. Cheng Zihuai was so angry that he almost lost his rationality. He was really Bei Yunji's biological brother. His words were so infuriating. In the end, Cheng Zihuai left with a dark expression. He could feel the hatred of this young master of the Cheng family from 10 meters away. Over the past few days, the atmosphere in the computing institute had been oppressive. The reason was that Bei Yunji's improved big data technology was very beneficial to the arrest work. Researchers from several countries had a meeting and suggested to push the truth, but it was rejected by Bei Yunji. The reason was that this technology was not only beneficial to the country's arrest work, but also beneficial to illegal elements to obtain some data that was not made public. For example, for so many years, many countries had insisted on protecting the genetic data of their people. Once it was controlled by the enemy, it might lead to the extinction of the entire nation. It was also because of this that Bei Yunji was impatient with this meeting and was very grumpy. As a result, the other researchers were still unable to calm down from Bei Yunji's scolding. Halfway through the meeting, Bei Yunji asked from the bottom of his heart, "Do you have brains?" This was the first time a group of scientific research elites, who had been called geniuses since they were young, were despised for their intelligence. They almost wanted to fight with Bei Yunji. In the end, when the meeting ended, Bei Yunji also warned everyone. If anyone touched this technology, they would have to bear the consequences. In the office, hearing Bei Yunji insult all the big shots, Si Qingyan was shocked. "Yunji, aren't you going overboard?" Bei Yunji paused. "I'm not scolding them. I'm just asking." Si Qingyan was speechless. "What do you mean by the consequences? Threatening them?" Si Qingyan could not help but ask. Bei Yunji said, "A simple lunatic would blow up the most famous building and cause panic. But a lunatic with a bit of brain can overturn a country, or even the world." Si Qingyan was stunned. "Do you remember a certain virus research institute in K country that accidentally infected wild monkeys with a virus in the jungle?" When Si Qingyan heard that, he recalled the extremely serious infectious disease and felt his hair stand on end. Bei Yunji glanced at him indifferently. "The virus can affect the human body. If we use this technology to obtain genetic samples and synthesize biochemical weapons, we can target different species and exterminate them." Si Qingyan's scalp went numb. No wonder Bei Yunji was so determined. Si Qingyan could not help but ask, "Then why do they want to implement it so much?" Zhong Shenglin walked over and interrupted. "Because Guer's breakthrough is more convenient for them to do scientific research. The world is bustling with activity, and everyone comes and goes for benefits. Besides, they always felt that they had the confidence to control this technology well. They did not take those highly intelligent terrorists seriously." End of chapter. Chapter 1197. Not all of these people were convinced by Bei Yunji. They felt that Bei Yunji was indeed a little talented at such a young age, but she was still too shallow to see problems and did not know how to seize the benefits. "I've reported this to the higher-ups," Zhong Shenglin said with a smile. Bei Yunji looked at him. "Don't worry. The higher-ups have already agreed to prohibit the disclosure of this technology. They will also explain the situation to the people in charge of other countries. You just have to continue your research." Zhong Shenglin patted Bei Yunji's shoulder. Bei Yunji hummed calmly and asked, "Then what about the next meeting? What should they do?" "You can go and have fun next. My friend happened to give you a few tickets to the art exhibition. Bring a few friends to take a look." Zhong Shenglin immediately stuffed Bei Yunji with a few tickets to the art exhibition. Bei Yunji was speechless. After Bei Yunji was forced to leave, Si Qingyan could not help but say, "What about me? I want to rest during the weekend." "Rest my ass." Zhong Shenglin rolled his eyes. Si Qingyan said, I'm not even worthy of a holiday? Then why can Bei Yunj rest? If we let her attend a few more meetings, our computing institute will really become an orphan in the industry. Zhong Xinglin's eyelids twitched. Si Qingyan was speechless. Bei Yunj looked at the tickets in her hand and thought for a moment before taking a photo and sending it to the group. Bei Yunj, picture? Lu Yuanxi, master pay. Will typing a few more words affect the country's fate? Bei Yunj, one Song Yao, one Chu Zhixing. One Lu Yuanxi was speechless. Two Bei Yunj isms. The tickets to the art exhibition that Zhong Xinglin had given her were difficult to get in the outside world. But Bei Yunj still had an extra ticket in her pocket. What's this drawing? I don't understand. Lu Yuanxi made a judgment. Bei Yunj glanced at him sideways. If you don't understand, why did you apply for construction? Lu Yuanxi. Song Yao and Chu Zhixing did not have much appreciation, but they did not speak easily. It was only when she walked in front of a picture that Song Yao said softly to Bei Yunj, "The author of this painting seems to be very famous." Previously, he was banned from the art exhibition because of his inappropriate speech and connotations. He didn't expect that the most famous one had been preserved. I heard that many people are calling for politics to stay away from art. Guer, do you know about this? Lu Yuanxi snorted. Do you expect a caveman like her to observe the public opinion of the netizens? Bei Yunj glanced at him. But now, who has so much free time to do art? Lu Yuanxi began to speak brainlessly again. Although he didn't have any ill intentions, his words were indeed saying that only those with low scores would study art. As a result, the expression of the girl beside him turned ugly and her eyes dimmed. Bei Yunj happened to catch a glimpse of the light blue powder under the girl's fingernails from the corner of her eye. She retracted her gaze and looked at the painting for a while. She said slowly, "Art doesn't serve the country. It serves human society. But any art that divides the country is essentially a drag on the social development of the nation. When ordinary people appreciate art, apart from the skills of the author, they can also see their meaning, class, desire, struggle, darkness, and symbiosis." Bei Yunj explained according to the row of paintings on the corridor. Artists can be romantic sociologists or lunatics who burn themselves and try to light up the corners of the world. She walked in front of one of the paintings and said leisurely, "For example, this dream is quite interesting. If the theme didn't mention it, you would have a different association. If you have to use something to explain it, the naked eye and mortals have long attained Bodhi. If it's concrete, it's this." Lu Yuanxi asked with difficulty, "What do you mean?" Bei Yunj said, "All forms are illusory. If you see all forms, you will see Tathagata." Lu Yuanxi couldn't help but ask, "Can you speak human language?" Bei Yunj glanced at him slowly. "In human language, change your profession as soon as possible. Architecture is also one of the 8 major arts. If you want to study art, you will only be beaten up." Lu Yuanxi was speechless. Damn, what kind of evil creature is this? It's fine if she's crazy about science, but she doesn't even leave a way out for the arts? The girl next to him almost laughed out loud. Her eyes lit up, and she pursed her pink lips as she glanced at Bei Yunj shyly. However, no one noticed that someone was staring at Bei Yunj from behind. "That girl said it very well." The bearded old man next to him laughed. "Very smart. This is the first time I've heard someone use Buddhist scriptures to interpret my paintings." Liao Zhu couldn't help but smile. "This is only for amateurs. If she were a professional, those little rascals in the association would know the pressure. If you like her, won't she be a professional after teaching for a few months?" The bearded old man joked. When Liao Zhu heard this, he became more determined. He walked in front of Bei Yunj. "Young lady, are you attending university this year?" Bei Yunj looked at the person who suddenly appeared and was silent. Yes. Liao Zhu didn't mind Bei Yunj's coldness. Instead, he smiled amiably. "Sophomore? Where are you studying?" "Freshman, Yin University." Bei Yunj looked at him. "What's the matter?" "Actually, I wanted to ask you if you want to study art? I can teach you." When Liao Zhu heard the words, Yin University, he was stunned. He added, "I don't need any payment." Lu Yuanxi and the rest were a little suspicious. Was this person a scammer? But the girl next to them widened her eyes. Wasn't this the president of the art association, Liao Zhu? Sorry, I'm not interested. Bei Yunji's words surprised Liao Zhu, but he didn't give up. He gave Bei Yunji a business card. If you want, you can look for me anytime. Also, young lady, is it convenient for your parents to meet me again and have a chat? Bei Yunji was silent for a moment. How about this? If you're free, you can come to my graduation banquet. When Liao Zhu heard this, he was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. He asked for his contact details and left. Bei Yunji didn't look at Liao Zhu's business card and casually stuffed it into her pocket. Deskmate is good. You just go out, and there are people who want to take you as a student. Lu Yuanxi sighed. If knowledge can be stored in your brain, you can too. Bei Yunji said. Lu Yuanxi. Bei Yunji picked up her phone and saw the message in the group. It was the people from CI7 who were at ING her. Xian Yuan. I'm going to Yincheng with Peng Hu and the rest in a few days. Do you want to meet up? Max. Bei Yunji thought for a while and replied. Max, sure. Peng Hu. Big brother, are you treating us to a meal? Max, sure. How about the graduation banquet? Peng Hu. Your child got into university. Max, I got into university. Peng Hu? Xian Yuan? Hibernating bear? This sentence set off a storm in the hearts of the core members of CI7. They even suspected that Max's account was hacked? That wasn't right. Was there anyone in CI7 who was better at computers than her? Chapter 1198. After the chat, Peng Hu and the others were chatting privately. Hibernating bear. I didn't expect Max to know how to sneer. Peng Hu, that's right. I almost believed him. What should I do? What should I give Max's child? Xian Yuan's eyelids twitched. He didn't want to talk to these two nagging men anymore. Xian Yuan. When you see Max, just shut your mouths. Although they were warned by Xian Yuan, Peng Hu and Hibernating Bear also began to remember the ridiculous rumor that Max had just entered CI7. When Max had just entered CI7, he was in debt of billions. They didn't know if he had paid it back. Why not just give Max some money? For some reason, the big shots of CI7 firmly believed that Bei Yunji was working in debt. The promotion banquet was handed over to Old Master Qin this time. Seeing that Old Master Qin had not recovered from his illness, and still insisted on handling it personally, Bei Yunji couldn't refuse. For the promotion banquet the day after tomorrow, Old Master Qin only invited some of his old friends. However, Bei Yunji's friends all sent invitations, including all the students and teachers of Class 7. What group? Luo Xia was playing a game on his phone expressionlessly because he heard that his junior brother, Yu Jilin, had been chosen and had become Max's private doctor. As for him, a legend in the medical world, he had actually been brushed off. The more Luo Xia played, the more frustrated he became. Just as he threw his phone aside, he suddenly saw a message from Yu Jilin. You go, brother, I have a banquet the day after tomorrow. Are you going? Luo Xia replied expressionlessly. Get lost. You go, are you really not going? You will regret it. Luo Xia sneered when he saw Yu Jilin say this. What he regretted the most was letting Yu Jilin know that he was interviewing for Max's private doctor. Luo Xia simply blacklisted him. What's so great about being Max's private doctor? Why can Yu Jilin do it but I can't? If Luo Xia hadn't cared about Huashidu, he would have cursed. He couldn't help but feel aggrieved. Does he hate me? That's impossible. Zhou Yu. The more Luo Xia thought about it, the more sour he felt. I don't know how many times Yu Jilin has seen him. Maybe he will be invited to his party. Huashida lifted his thin eyelids. Shut up. Luo Xia. Were they still friends? Seeing Luo Xia's angry eyes, the man didn't feel guilty at all. Instead, he slowly said, Guer, will you go to the graduation banquet with me the day after tomorrow? Luo Xia. The day after tomorrow again. Luo Xia forced a smile. It wasn't hard to tell how much he disliked Bei Yunji. Forget it. I couldn't think straight just now and rejected Yu Jilin's invitation. If he happens to be attending a banquet, and I'm reduced to attending a child's graduation banquet, this will become an indelible shadow in my life. When Zhou Yu heard this, he couldn't help but close his eyes. Why would someone attack their own idol every day? He really wanted to shake Luo Xia awake. If he continued to blabber like this, not only would he not be able to be her personal doctor, he might even be beaten up. Up to you. Huashida glanced at him casually and didn't say anything else. Luo Xia, who was immersed in grief, didn't know how exciting and suffocating the night after tomorrow would be for him. The day before the graduation banquet, Bei Yunj was still studying the book J.H. from Laboratory 191. Huashida stood behind her for more than half an hour, but she didn't notice him. P.S. I just sorted out the outline. I'll update it after sleeping for a while. Chapter 1199. Suddenly, Bei Yunj's phone rang, and she answered without looking up. What's wrong? It was Song Yao's voice from the other end. What color gown are you wearing tomorrow? Bei Yunj licked her lips and narrowed her beautiful eyes. Soon she recalled. The grayish-blue one. That custom-made gown with grayish-blue tassels was specially flown over by the old master. It was a seasonal gown. Okay. Song Yao had also seen that gown, and was quite satisfied with Bei Yunj's choice. Miss Song, did you call in the middle of the night to tell me about this? Bei Yunj asked with a faint smile as she twirled the pencil in her hand. Song Yao probed. Then, what do you and your brother plan to do now? But, Bei Yunj exclaimed and suddenly leaned back. The corners of her lips curled up lazily, and she started to talk fearlessly. Plan? I plan to get married this year, and have 2 children next year. After I graduate from university, I'll get the children at home to buy me a cake, and put up candles for Mother's Day. Song Yao was speechless. Why would she call Bei Yunj when she had nothing better to do? However, Bei Yunj was also addicted to teasing Song Yao. She looked up at the ceiling playfully, her gaze gradually moving back and her mouth becoming louder. Auntie Little Song, don't be anxious. If you really don't have a partner, I'll give you a little. Before she could finish speaking suddenly, she saw the man holding a teacup and wearing a black t-shirt, looking at her calmly. Bei Yunj was speechless. When did this person run behind her? Aren't you going to finish your conversation first? The man raised his eyebrows, his tone casual and lazy. On the other end of the line, Song Yao also heard Huashida's voice, but her heart did not ache for Bei Yunj. It was best if someone could teach this young master a lesson. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment before she straightened her back. Well, Tian, see you tomorrow. On the other end, Song Yao could not help but smile. Okay, good night. The call was hung up and the atmosphere was strange. When did you come in? Bei Yunj asked subconsciously. Before you call me. Without waiting for Bei Yunj to complain, Huashida said slowly. I wanted to remind her, but I was afraid that I would disturb our union studies. Bei Yunj. The car flipped again. Huashida licked his thin red lips and chuckled. However, I'm also quite curious who Union wants to hug next year. The man's pair of seductive peach blossom eyes could not hide his smile, and there was also a hint of teasing. The light condensed in the depths of his pale pupils, and one look was so ambiguous that it made people blush, and their hearts beat faster. Then Bei Yunj heard him say, this idea is quite torturous. Bei Yunj. Her words were a momentary pleasure, but she ended up in the crematorium. Seeing that Bei Yunj's neck was slightly red, Huashida stopped teasing her. He smiled silently, and reached out to scratch her chin. I've heated up some milk for you downstairs. Drink it before you sleep. Bei Yunj stood up abruptly and ran out. The man looked at Bei Yunj's back and raised his eyebrows lazily, the smile on his lips faintly discernible. She hit quite quickly. The next day, Song Yao had just entered the lounge on the 2nd floor, when she saw a person in a grayish-blue dress leaning lazily against the sofa. Her black hair was scattered, her skin was fair like jade, and her eyes were filled with charm. It was a simple and elegant gown, but on her, it looked lazy, sexy, and classy. Chapter 1200. Your waist isn't good. Why are you lying down? Song Yao could not help but smile. It was obvious that he remembered yesterday's accident. Bei Yunj was speechless. After what happened last night, Bei Yunj was slightly silent this morning, but the man's expression was the same as usual. However, when they were sitting in the back of the car, she suddenly heard the man ask, "Have you thought about who you want to be the father of your child?" "Nonsense. Huishidu." However, the D*MN man that Bei Yunj was scolding in her heart was talking to old Master Qin downstairs. Bei Yunj leaned her chin against the railing on the second floor with Song Yao. She saw that the man was wearing a neatly ironed black suit. His shirt buttons were not as loose as usual, but were buttoned to the top. Bei Yunj thought. It seemed like every time he was in front of old Master Qin, Huishida's shirt buttons would be buttoned properly. When he spoke to old Master Qin, his tone was always gentle and patient. There was no sense of distance. However, as long as old Master Qin walked far away, although the man looked refined and dignified, his expression was indifferent and light. There was a sense of alienation that kept people thousands of miles away. Suddenly, Song Yao smiled. "That's great." "What?" Bei Yunj asked. "When I liked Fu Yanbai in the past, I overestimated myself and always treated a man's charity as something special. But later, I found out that because we are destined to have an unequal relationship, as long as he treats me normally, I will think that he treats me well." Song Yao's eyes were curved, but her voice was as gentle and smiling as ever. But Huishida was different. He was so good to Bei Yunj that anyone with a discerning eye would be envious of. It was as if, as long as you look at me with a little love in your eyes, I will walk over and hug you openly. With such a man liking Bei Yunj, Song Yao was not afraid that Bei Yunj would follow in her footsteps. Bei Yunj looked at Song Yao for a while. She reached out to stroke the hair on her neck and said slowly, "Tian, don't be afraid. As long as I'm around, there won't be a second Fu Yanbai by your side." Song Yao did not want to waste her energy to like anyone else. Now, she only hoped that her parents would be healthy and happy. Bei Yunj would succeed in everything. In the evening, there were many guests downstairs. After some of old man Qin's old friends finished exchanging greetings, they glanced over and saw several old men with smiles on their faces. Although they weren't dressed extravagantly, they looked strangely familiar. "Those people look familiar." Someone could not help but murmur, "Do I look familiar? But from what I see, he looks very ordinary. I thought he had snuck in." As soon as he said this, a certain CEO was pushed hard by his friend. "What's wrong with you?" That was by Mingzhang, an academician of the Academy of Sciences, and the former president of Yun University. "You don't even like her?" As soon as he said that, everyone looked at Bai Mingzhang. Bai Mingzhang's friends were dressed in the same style as Bai Mingzhang, and they looked very familiar with each other. "Old Bai, then the people around him can't all be." The person who spoke felt his legs go soft. This was a scientific research big shot that could only be seen on TV. Zhong Shenglin, Zhou Moping, Yu Guang, Si Chunyan, and the current principal of Yun University. I don't know the rest. However, when these names were read out, it was already enough to make people suck in a breath of cold air. Did half of the scientific research community come to celebrate eldest Miss Qin's graduation? Wasn't this too extravagant? A VIP of this level was not someone who could be invited by money and power. Chapter 1201. These people who stood at the top of the scientific research field did not care if you were rich or not. Otherwise, with the standards of people like Bai Mingzhang and Zhou Moping, selling a few patents would make people look up to them for the rest of their lives. What's going on? Old Master Qin can even invite these people? The others could not help but be shocked. After the people at the side came back to their senses, they stared at the two figures and hesitated. In the end, they did not say a word. Old Master Lung and Old Master Chu were actually here. The boss who had seen Old Master Chu and Old Master Lung by chance felt his scalp tingle. The scariest thing was that the Qin family could invite these two people. People like Old Master Lung and Old Master Chu would not easily attend banquets, and did not like to have anything to do with people in the industry. It was said that even at Old Master Chu's nephew's coming-of-age ceremony, Old Master Chu only bowed, and did not attend because there were too many people who wanted to see him. But today Old Master Chu actually came to the Qin family personally. Looking at Old Master Chu's jubilant expression, those who did not know would think that the main character of today's banquet was old Master Chu's biological granddaughter. But not long after. Suddenly, 3 men from another race walked into the hall. The man in the lead had blonde hair and blue eyes. He was handsome, and was about 30 years old. He had a literary temperament, but his simple work clothes did not match the elegant and noble style of the hall. The brown-skinned man behind him had a scar on his jaw, and a nail ring on his nose. He did not look like someone to be trifled with. The others were discussing, and wished they could retreat 10 meters away. Who were these 3 people? Union's friends. Suddenly, they heard a cold voice that sounded neither fast nor slow. Xian Yuan looked up and met the eyes of a handsome and noble man. However, for some reason, he subconsciously avoided the man's gaze that seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. He had a feeling that this man gave him a dangerous and oppressive feeling. It should be. This was the first time in so many years that Xian Yuan was suppressed by someone's aura. Then let's wait. She'll be down soon. The man's behavior was gentle and polite. He was not warm, but he did not make the 3 of them feel awkward. It was as if he was born to be a vanity hunter. Soon the people upstairs finally came down. Xian Yuan and the others heard a commotion and subconsciously looked up. It was a girl wearing a grayish-blue tasseled dress. Her long black curly hair was loose, revealing half of her fair neck and exquisite collarbone. Her pair of beautiful phoenix eyes were playful, but they were also bright and charming. "You are?" Xian Yuan and Bei Yunj looked at each other for a moment and asked hesitantly in a low voice, "Max's child." Bei Yunj. Her eyelids twitched, and she glanced at the big bamboo baskets on hibernating Bear and Pang Hu's back. "What are they doing? Did you bring back bamboo shoots?" Hearing this familiar cold and aloof tone, Xian Yuan and the others froze. They suddenly had a very unbelievable thought. Is this Max? That's not right. How could Max look so young? They had always thought that Max should be a gloomy, solitary, and sickly white scientific research genius. How could she be so beautiful in person? Bei Yunj was also quite silent. She did not know how to face these 3 people, who might give her a few baskets of bamboo shoots. "It's really you, boss." Pang Hu was the first to become excited because of the meeting, and it also affected the other 2. "Brothers, come. Let's find a room and have a good chat." The 3 of them hugged 3 baskets of unknown things and said sneakily. Chapter 1202. Let me make it clear first. I don't really like bamboo shoots. Next time, you can dig up some sweet potatoes, Bei Yunj suddenly said. Xian Yuan. What was wrong with this person? Was she looking down on the economic strength of CI7 too much? Who would come to visit with sweet potatoes and bamboo shoots? My friend, trust me, no one can resist its temptation. Pang Hu revealed a strange and wretched smile. Bei Yunj was even more silent when she heard this. After a while she said, Pang Hu, let me tell you, it's illegal to gather people for obscenity here. If you take out a basket of random tapes, I'll call the police immediately. Pang Hu. In the end, Bei Yunj looked at them suspiciously and went to the second floor with them. On the other hand, the others felt that the young Miss Friends were too strange. One look, and they could tell that they were not decent people. In the lounge, when the 3 of them opened the bamboo basket, what was unexpected was that it was filled with bits and pieces of diamonds, gemstones, gold, jade, and the like. Bei Yunj picked up a heavy tophyte. As a rare gemstone, tophytes were worth 35,000 yuan, in our nation's currency per carat. She threw it to the side. This action made Xian Yuan and the others' eyelids twitch. Then, Bei Yunj caught a glimpse of a few raw violet diamonds. They were the size of a pigeon's egg, but they were already bigger than the largest violet diamond on the market. Before Bei Yunj could do anything, Pang Hu immediately went up and held these violet diamonds. Be gentle. The annual production of violet diamonds is less than 12 carats, and the largest on the market is only 83 carats. However, the violet diamonds they gave were already 5 carats in size. Not only that, there were only 3 or 4 violet diamonds that were larger than 1 carat on the market. And Bei Yunj had 4 5-carat violet diamonds the size of pigeon's egg. Where did this come from? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Pang Hu immediately said, This was dug up legally. And it's also from Amanal Mines. If I didn't know that you owed tens of billions, I would have given you half of my fortune. Bei Yunj interrupted. What tens of billions? Pang, who used the tone of an experienced person, and said earnestly, Don't be embarrassed. I'm doing this because we're kindred spirits. Young people, who hasn't done some messy things. Bei Yunj suddenly laughed. She licked her lips and glanced at them. What nonsense have I done? But for some inexplicable reason, he felt a lingering fear. Zhixiong hesitated. Didn't you get caught for robbing a bank, and now you're tens of billions in debt? Didn't you join CI7 to pay off your debts? Bei Yunj? Question mark. Xian Yuan? Question mark. The director said so. Zhixiong felt Bei Yunj's cold gaze. Not long after, Xian Yuan also felt his hair stand on end. I didn't say anything. I knew you were in need of money. Maybe it's because of debt. Who knew that this group of people would gossip all day long and fill in the blanks like this? A few minutes after Xian Yuan finished explaining, the atmosphere became awkward. Max, how big is your yard? Planting flowers is so expensive. How many do you have? Just a few hundred square meters. Xian Yuan and the rest still felt that it was normal. But the next moment, they heard Bei Yunj continue. Juliet roses. Xian Yuan. Pang Hu and Zhixiong. Was that the legendary million roses that they didn't even dare to touch? Even for people like them who didn't lack money, Juliet roses were famous for being squeamish. Those who could afford to buy them weren't big shots. Those who could afford to raise them were the real big shots. Chapter 1203. They were actually pitying someone who raised hundreds of Juliet roses? She really felt that she was living too well. Pang, who couldn't help but ask, Max, this flower is very difficult to raise, right? You're raising it in Yincheng. It's quite difficult to raise, but the manor's butler takes care of it. The flowers are raised in Nili. If you like them, you can go to Bacton to pick them, Bei Yunj replied after thinking for a while. Xian Yuan also fell silent. Bacton Manor? Bei Yunj replied, yes. For a moment, the atmosphere was dead silent. What kind of crazy big shot was this? Bacton Manor was actually Max's private manor? Soon Xian Yuan and the rest showed signs of rejection. I don't deserve it. I don't dare. That's Juliet roses. Who would dare to pick a few for no reason? Wouldn't that be ruining a real flower? Xian Yuan declined. Thank you. When I can buy a glass garden in Bacton Manor, I'll go pick them. Yes, that was a glass garden with encyclopedic information. Bei Yunj. The way Xian Yuan and the rest looked at Bei Yunj also changed. As expected of Max, he could even raise such a money-burning hobby. Bei Yunj. Her eyelids twitched. All right, take the things back. I don't lack money. Bei Yunj wasn't interested in taking advantage of others, but she remembered that the three of them had donated more than half of their assets because they thought she was in debt. No, I've already taken them. Do I have to carry them back? Pang, who was the first to object. Then he said, It's not good for a man like me to store so many diamonds. Just take these as a gift for my graduation. But until now, they still felt like they were dreaming. Max was actually a prospective college student. Bei Yunj couldn't stand the three of them nagging and agreed to accept them. But from the corner of her eye, she saw a document bag inside. What's this? Bei Yunj had just picked it up when she heard Zhixiong's explanation. He was proud and arrogant. This is some information about the private jet I'm giving you. It doesn't matter if you don't have a pilot's license. Anyway, you can hire someone to drive it for you. Am I being very thoughtful? Bei Yunj. At this very moment, there were a few uninvited guests downstairs. The Qin family's eldest Mrs. graduation banquet is indeed a grand occasion. Everyone turned around and saw a few familiar faces of the foreign races. Beside the exquisitely dressed foreign girls, there was a beautiful girl in a white dress. That's Qin Youjiao. Why is she here? Some people were discussing in a low voice. This time, Old Master Qin did not invite many people, and no one expected to see Qin Youjiao here. The socialites around her seemed to be some famous socialites in the Nili Circle. Do you know about the Nili 18 Beauties Association? Hearing this, someone immediately reacted. Qin Youjiao went that time too, right? Therefore, were these top socialites in the Neely Circle friends of Qin Yojiao? Everyone present was smart. How could they not see that Qin Yojiao's motive for coming today was not simple? Was she trying to suppress him on the spot? After all, she heard that Qin Yojiao was pressured by the Qin family and refused to rent a better hotel to her. Why are you here? Old Master Qin's expression darkened. Seeing Qin Yojiao's posture, the taste of blood surged up his throat. Grandpa, you don't want me to come so much? Qin Yojiao maintained an appropriate smile and asked in return. At this moment, the socialite beside Qin Yojiao sneered. The Qin family's eldest miss is so thick-skinned. Aren't you going to come out and meet the guests? Chapter 1204. Many people present knew the first person to speak. It was Vera, the only daughter of the chairman of Bangor Corporation. She was also a famous socialite in Neely. Master Du, I'll get someone to settle it. Zhou Yu frowned. He had just pressed his Bluetooth earpiece and was about to deal with these people when he was interrupted by Huashidu. No need. Huashida's slow voice confused Zhou Yu. Huh? No need to deal with them? But wasn't Master Du always nervous about Miss Pei? How could he bear to let Miss Pei be bullied? At this moment, Huashida looked at the person leaning lazily against the railing on the stage and turned to walk down. His upturned eyes were lazy and light as he replied slowly. They provoked Bei Yunj. Zhou Yu did not understand what he meant, but Seng Su understood. Master Du wanted to use these people to establish Miss Pei's authority. There were so many people in the industry present. Master Du did not want people to think that Miss Pei had just entered a wealthy family, like the Qin family, and had hooked up with him in the blink of an eye. He wanted people to know that Miss Pei never needed to hide behind anyone. Seng Su had just regained his senses when he heard the man say lightly, "You can deal with those who need to be dealt with anytime." All right, he was still targeted by Master Du. Grandpa, what happened? Who made you so angry? Bei Yunj's voice trailed from upstairs slowly. Xian Yuan, and the rest could probably see that someone seemed to be causing trouble downstairs, and their eyes turned cold. Go, or are these your friends? Seeing Bei Yunj, old Master Qin's voice became gentle as he held Bei Yunj's hand with a smile. Bei Yunj replied, I just met online friends. The rest of the people were speechless. There were still people meeting online friends these days? And they were overseas friends? Xian Yuan greeted Old Master Qin in Country A's language. Old Master Qin was not harsh on Bei Yunj's friends. Instead, he chatted with Xian Yuan in a fluent foreign language. This scene almost hurt Qin Yojiao's eyes. The jealousy and distortion in her eyes could not be suppressed, and she could not help but laugh coldly. They were really filial. I heard that Miss Pei got into Yin University's physics department? It's really not bad. If you need it, why don't you come to Bangor's research team to give it a try? Vera casually held her champagne glass and smiled sarcastically. Our company recruits 100 researchers every year and eliminates them through screening and elimination. At the end of the day, they're all working for others. After saying this, Vera didn't know that Zhong Xinglin and the others had stopped eating and slowly turned to look at her. The atmosphere suddenly became oppressive. Really? So powerful? Bei Yunj's red lips curved as she followed her words. It's not that impressive, but it's still slightly better than some useless research companies in Country A. Vera shook her champagne glass confidently, trying to suppress Bei Yunj with every word she said. Miss Pei, you don't have to be nervous. On account of Yojiao, it's not difficult to let you enter Bangor. Miss, you're too polite. But I'm currently working with someone, so I can't enter your company. Bei Yunj glanced at her with interest and sneered. He walked to the long table and poured a glass of red wine. Oh, Vera seemed to have found an opportunity and immediately asked, Miss Pei, what company are you planning to enter? You actually don't like our Bangor? Could it be that you'd rather choose a third-rate company than accept my good intentions because of a fit of pique? Chapter 1205. Bei Yunj did not speak, but the corners of her lips curled up slightly. When the socialites saw this, they thought that Bei Yunj had been exposed by them. They were angry but did not dare to say anything. Yunj, Vera's father's company is a top-notch research corporation. You don't have to reject him. Qin Yojiao chuckled from the side. Many people can't get this opportunity even if they beg for it. Those who didn't know better would think that Qin Yojiao was giving Bei Yun's charity. However, not far away, the expressions of Zhong Shenglin and the rest were extremely dark, and their hearts were numb and cold. Sure, Banger Corporation. She still looked down on them who did scientific research. So, you want to poach me? Bei Yun raised an eyebrow. Her words made Vera's expression darken, and she laughed in anger. This woman really dared to say it. Their company was poaching her? Where did she get the cheek to let their Banger Corporation give her this honor? However, Vera still suppressed her anger, and said with a fake smile in front of everyone. For Yojiao's sake, I can help you pay the penalty fee. As for the company you originally signed with, it's not a big deal. I'll give them more money, and let them know when to stop. Vera's arrogant tone made old Master Qin almost fly into a rage, when she deliberately humiliated her in front of everyone. Who did she think she was to dare speak like this? Did the elder young miss of the Qin family need someone else to pay the penalty fee? However, just as old Master Qin was about to scold her, a cold laugh suddenly trailed from outside. Banger Corporation is so shameless. This is my first time seeing someone poach someone so confidently. Hearing the voice, Vera and the other socialites found it familiar, and immediately turned to look. They never thought that the people walking over would be Tich and Jasmine. Why were they here? Vera's expression changed, and she panicked inexplicably. Tich, I just think that Miss Pei doesn't need to stay in that kind of third-rate company, and want to help her. At this moment, Vera still didn't know which company was the third-rate company she was so confident in. After all, she didn't believe that any top research corporation would cooperate with a prospective university student. Tich, when did your family become a third-rate company? Jasmine had an elegant smile on his lips, but there was no warmth in his eyes when he looked at them. Vera's smile froze for a moment. What? Tich simply looked away and walked in front of Bei Yun. Tich's eyes lit up as he looked at Bei Yun. His tone was inexplicably respectful as he said, Miss Pei, this is the gift I prepared for you. My father still has something to do at the company, so he'll be half an hour late. He asked me to greet you first. Judging from Tich's tone, those who didn't know would think that he was meeting an elder. However, Tich was a famous young master in the Neely Circle. Who would dare to be his senior? Bei Yun frowned. What is he doing here? Tich. His teacher still disliked his father as usual. Jasmine also panicked when he saw Bei Yun's attitude. It was over. His father was also here today. He even said that he had to pull him over for a few drinks today. On the other hand, Bei Yun felt that her student seemed to be a little restrained every time he saw her. She thought for a moment, and decided to find a topic to ease the tension. She asked lightly, Have you finished writing your research report? Tich. Jasmine. What kind of death question was this? Chapter 1206. Tich said. It might take another 2 to 3 days. Although they were already used to Bei Yun's rhythm, this habit was numb, and they could not keep up with Bei Yun's level. However, this conversation seemed abnormally strange in the crowd. Who were Tich and Jasmine? Skipping grades in high school and university was like child's play. When they were studying at a top university like Neely University, they had already entered our nation's computing institute with first and second results. Who in the Neely circle had not been crazily infatuated with these two handsome and intelligent men? However, from the conversation just now, those who did not know would almost think that Bei Yun was Tich and Jasmine's senior teacher. Vera's expression did not look too good either. Everyone in the Neely circle knew that she liked Tich, and that the Delaney Corporation and Bang Corporation were interested in a marriage, although Tich did not like her, and had not even spoken to her much. Tich, is Bei Yun from your corporation's research team? Vera bit her lip, and could not help asking. However, when Tich and Jasmine heard Vera call Bei Yun by her full name, they both looked up at her with a little coldness. Tich said expressionlessly, No, Miss Pei has shares in our corporation, and is one of the decision-makers of the corporation. With that said, Titch specially added, it was Miss Pei's decision to work with Bang previously. The news of the Delaney Corporation was very tight, and not many people knew that the chief decision-maker was Bei Yunj. They only knew that their big boss listened to that new boss very much. Instantly, Vera's face paled and Qin Youjiao's expression changed. Qin Youjiao looked up at Bei Yunj and stared fixedly at her. What? How is that possible? She's the new decision-maker? What? The crowd burst into an uproar. How many F***king people in the country could get in touch with the Delaney Corporation? However, the eldest young miss of the Qin family had actually become the decision-maker of the Delaney Corporation without batting an eyelid? Vera had never had such a guess. Although Bang had been asking around about who the new decision-maker of the Delaney Corporation was, he did not know if it was a man or a woman. But now she actually saw it with her own eyes. She even swore to Bei Yunj that she would compensate her for the breach of contract and asked the Delaney group to stop while they were ahead. Go, or is this true? Old man Qin was starting to wonder if he was dreaming. Bei Yunj glanced at Titch and quickly said to old Qin, I happen to know Delaney. I'm just doing him a favor. Everyone. What a guy. What kind of dog talk was this? However, I didn't expect that company to be Bangor. Bei Yunj's slow voice made Vera subconsciously raise her head and look into her eyes. She shuddered suddenly. Clearly, she only wanted to get closer to Elena, so she planned to help Qin Youjiao. After all, it was easy for her to deal with the eldest daughter of the Qin family, who couldn't even be considered a top family. However, she had never imagined that this was simply a matter of wading into muddy waters. And this Bei Yunj, who looked like she had nothing to do, was actually the one who ate people whole. Then when you chose Bangor, Titch wanted to say something but hesitated. Bei Yunj said slowly, how would I know whose company is better? Delaney insisted on asking me. I saw that the person in charge of Bangor had the surname Song, so I voted for him. Everyone? ? Lu Yuanxi sighed. Sister Yao is really favored. Chu Zhixing. What terrible language skills. Chapter 1207. Titch didn't expect his teacher's reason to be so simple and straightforward. He thought that at least it was because Bonner had won his teacher's favor in advance. However, when he thought about it, his father had always been cautious about anything related to his teacher. No one else would have the chance to curry favor with him. When Vera heard Bei Yunj's words, her expression changed even more. Ever since she started working with Delaney this year, their company had been thriving, so Vera's status in the socialite circle had also risen. But now, she had offended the person who had brought all this to her. Suddenly, everyone heard a sneer not far away. Indeed, we can't match up to a big company like Bonner Group. I didn't expect that the Banger Group had never taken us seriously. Vera frowned subconsciously and looked at the person who spoke in disgust. However, when she saw who it was, her face turned pale. Zhong Shenglin. Why was Zhong Shenglin from the Computing Institute here? Mr. Zhong, why are you here? Vera's expression was ugly as she forced a smile. There was a reason why Vera knew Zhong Shenglin. Back then, Bonner had begged for 3 years before they got the chance to work with the Computing Institute. She didn't expect to meet Zhong Shenglin on this occasion. When Zhong Shenglin rejected her father's invitation, he had said that he didn't like to get involved in anyone's banquet. Why? Do I need your family's permission to work for your company and attend a junior's graduation banquet? Zhong Shenglin's tone was very bad, making Vera hesitate. I didn't. Unexpectedly, Zhong Shenglin interrupted coldly. In that case, the termination letter from the Computing Institute will be sent to your company's email tomorrow morning. Although I, Zhong Shenglin, have been doing research all my life, I don't lack companies that are begging to cooperate. Instantly, Vera's face turned pale. Her father had been begging for 3 years, but because of her words, it was completely ruined? No. If her father were to find out about this, he would definitely want to chase her out. Especially in the past 2 years, after entering the Computing Institute. The institute had always been in the limelight. Elder Zhong, I'm young and ignorant. Please don't take it to heart. I'll apologize to you, is that okay? Vera's eyes were red, and she felt even more regretful. Why did she have to find trouble to help Qin Yojiao vent her anger today? This matter had nothing to do with her. Miss Vera, please respect yourself. We old fellows have heard your words clearly. After Zhong Shenglin finished speaking, Miss Vera realized that the people around Zhong Shenglin were all familiar faces in Country A's scientific research field. Even though she had always been proud of Country R's scientific research capabilities, she also knew that this group of people, even those ruthless figures in Country R's scientific research field, did not dare to offend them easily. Vera felt the gazes of these big shots, and her legs went soft for a moment. How could this be? It was clearly just a banquet for the eldest daughter of the Qin family. Why were all these lofty scientific research bigwigs here? Vera was not the only one with a terrible expression. Qin Yojiao was the same. Her pupils constricted, and her pretty face was a little distorted. She could not understand why this was happening. What had happened in the 2 years she had been away? Why did Bai Yunj know these people? Bai Yunj walked slowly towards Qin Yojiao and leaned forward slightly. Welcome, Miss Qin. However, Miss Qin, you should change into another gown. It's quite an eyesore. With that said, the red wine in Bai Yunj's hand spilled on her dress. Bai Yunj. End of chapter. Chapter 1208. Qin Yojiao's expression became even more ferocious. She did not expect Bai Yunj to be so arrogant. She actually made things difficult for her in front of so many people on purpose. Bai Yunj placed the wine glass on the table and did not feel guilty at all. Instead, she raised her eyebrows slowly, giving off an impudent and arrogant feeling. She splashed red wine all over Qin Yojiao for no other reason. It was because in Bai Yunj's dream, she had seen Qin Yojiao wearing this gown and being surrounded by the crowd. However, because of Qin Yojiao's words, the original owner was deliberately locked in the door by the servants and given leftovers. She did not want to see Qin Yojiao as an eyesore in this situation. Bai Yunj glanced sideways at Qin Yojiao, who was trembling in anger. She was about to walk around when she saw Qin Yojiao staring at someone. Qin Yojiao bit her lip. This was the first time she felt so humiliated. But when she looked around, no one wanted to help her. They were all looking at her with cold or sarcastic eyes. Qin Yojiao had just looked away when she saw the man with a carefree expression. The man was still the same as always. His expression was indifferent, as if no one and nothing could enter his eyes. A dark look flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes, and she pursed her lips as she walked towards the man. Everyone thought that she was going to change her clothes. But in the next second, Qin Yojiao walked closer and closer to Huashidu, just as a strange glint flashed past her eyes, and she wanted to pretend to fall and get closer to the man. Bai Yunj suddenly walked over quickly. Before anyone could react, Qin Yojiao was suddenly grabbed by the back of her neck, as if he was holding an animal. She was pulled back by Bai Yunj. When their eyes met again, there was no smile in Bai Yunj's eyes, but Qin Yojiao felt a chill run down her spine. She pinched the back of Qin Yojiao's neck and did not let go. Her tone was playful and filled with hostility. Why are you relying on him? Relying on me? However, Qin Yojiao's thoughts were exposed and her heart turned cold and nervous. I didn't. Qin Yojiao did not know why, but she wanted to get close to that man just now. Looking at Bai Yunj's exasperated expression, but it was definitely not like now. She was grabbing the back of her neck, as if she was holding a cat or dog, but her eyes were dangerous, as if she was looking at a dead person. You're quite good. Bai Yunj's tone was cold as she flung him away. Qin Yojiao. Of her, she could only bite her lip and look at Hua. Mr. Hua I. When Sing Su saw this scene, he felt that his master was in a difficult position. Why was he being pestered even though he had done nothing? Moreover, Miss Pei's possessiveness was too strong. Suddenly, the man stood up and walked towards them. Seeing him, Yojiao's eyes. However, after that, the man only held Bai Yunj's hand casually and walked to the side, not even looking at her. Sing Su, it's settled. Yojiao. In Yojiao no they. However, the man held Bai Yunj's hand and did not even look at anyone else. Yes, yes, Sing Su answered and walked in front of Qin Yojiao. Miss Qin, do you need me to say anything else? Bei Yunj knew that it was not a man's business to be held by someone, but she still said sourly, you seem to be very good at seducing people. Even Qin Yojiao had taken a fancy to him. Huashida was speechless. He did not know what this child was thinking about all day long. P.S. At least you can sleep first. I'll take a shower and continue reading. End of chapter. Chapter 1209. He was about to reach out and pinch Bei Yunj's face when Bei Yunj avoided him. Are you that angry? Huashida's lips curled up unconsciously. Before Bei Yunj could speak, she suddenly heard someone calling her. She could only glare at Huashidu with gritted teeth. Huashidu rarely felt that his child was a little fierce. After Bei Yunj left, Zhou Yu walked over carefully. Master Du. Miss Pei's expression just now looked like she wanted to eat someone. Who knew? Huashida laughed, casual and frivolous. I didn't say that I wouldn't let her eat it. When the little girl pulled a long face, she gritted her teeth fiercely. Grandpa, what's the matter? Bei Yunj walked over, and her unhappiness dissipated. Look, this is your Grandpa Sheng's grandson. He's the same age as you. Old Master Qin seemed to have drunk too much, and was overjoyed. Bei Yunj's eyes met with the blushing face of the handsome boy opposite her, and suddenly had a bad feeling. And Miss Pei is really amazing. How did you get 749 marks in the college entrance examination? The boy seemed to be trying his best to talk to her. Qin Yu and Qin Lang watched from the side, their eyes filled with danger. However, with the old master around, they did not dare to be impudent. Bei Yunj said, just write less for your essay. The boy was speechless. All the elders were speechless. Qin Yu lowered his head, and the corners of his lips curled up uncontrollably. After that, he heard Qin Lang laugh carelessly. It's like this. Our Qin family's son-in-law's standard is to score at least 740 marks in the college entrance examination. Qin Yu glanced at Qin Lang leisurely. This person with the lowest score in the Qin family actually had the cheek to spout nonsense. However, Qin Lang had managed to get into Yin University by following the cutoff score. When the boy heard Qin Lang's words, his face turned red. Qin Lang, what nonsense are you talking about? Old Master Qin scolded. I can't be compared to Miss Pei, but I also hope to be friends with Miss Pei. The boy was simple-minded and could not hide his good impression of girls. At this moment, Bei Yunj also smelled a familiar cold aura around her. All right, what shouldn't have come has come. Bei Yunj heard the man say leisurely beside her. Yunyan seems to be very good at seducing people. Bei Yunj. In the darkness of the long corridor, Qin Yojiao looked at Bei Yunj and Huashida's figures. The light in her eyes was strange, and there was a trace of unwillingness in her expression. If she had met Huashidu first outside the mental hospital that time, would she? Miss Qin always likes things that don't belong to her. Qin Yojiao turned around and saw Song Yao with curved eyebrows and beautiful dimples by her lips. Miss Song wants to humiliate me in order to please Bei Yunj? There was a hint of sarcasm in Qin Yojiao's voice. Or do you really think that Bei Yunj treats you as a friend? With you by her side, she only sees you as a foil. I don't think Miss Qin has any friends, only people who make use of each other, right? Song Yao's voice was gentle, but it was filled with determination. There was no smile in her eyes. Yunj won't spend her time on you, but my time isn't worth anything. Miss Qin, you can try to play tricks again next time. Guess if Senior Chung will firmly believe that Miss Qin is still as affectionate as before. With that said, Song Yao took out a pearl bracelet from somewhere. She lowered her eyes and put it on for Qin Yojiao. But Qin Yojiao's expression was extremely ugly. She had bribed a servant to find an opportunity to put this pearl bracelet by Huashida's side. Don't lose it next time. Song Yao looked up at her, as if reminding her. Chapter 1210. Qin Yojiao felt like a mouthful of blood had accumulated in her chest, and she was extremely frustrated. First, Bei Yunj had humiliated her in public. Then, Song Yao had grabbed her weakness and stabbed her in the heart. She did not know how much Song Yao knew, but Cheng Zihuai was her trump card. She could not let Cheng Zihuai distrust her. Song Yao, you'll regret it. Qin Youjiao gritted her teeth, her expression fierce. Song Yao's lips curved and she tidied Qin Youjiao's hair. Not being biased at all. Really? Miss Qin's dress is really pretty. The feeling of her fist hitting cotton made Qin Youjiao grit her teeth in hatred. However, Seng Su only regained his senses when he saw Qin Youjiao leave angrily. None of Miss Pei's friends were easy to deal with. Seng Su had been with Huashidu for so long, so of course he could see through Qin Youjiao's tricks. However, he did not expect Song Yao to make a move. However, this move indeed made Seng Su understand why Bei Yunj and Song Yao could become friends. One was openly arrogant and specialized in hitting people where it hurt. The other was gentle and deadly. Seng Su broke out in cold sweat. Good lord, none of them were good people. At the banquet, Tian, where did you go? Lu Yuanxi said smoothly. Song Yao said, I went to touch up my makeup. Hearing this address, Bei Yunj glanced at Lu Yuanxi faintly, but did not say anything. Master Pei, why are you unhappy at the banquet? Lu Yuanxi asked. Bei Yunj said calmly, there are still 4 days before school starts. Are you very happy? Lu Yuanxi and the others were speechless. It turned out that the big boss also had such a simple problem. Only Song Yao glanced at Bei Yunj when she heard this. She only asked after Lu Yuanxi, and Chu Zhixing ran to play games with the other students. Because of your brother? Bei Yunj bit a grape and said slowly. School was about to start, so why didn't Huashidu have any reaction? Can't wait? Song Yao could not help teasing. Bei Yunj said slowly. Not really. I just want to trick him first. She couldn't wait any longer. She knew that it was best for her to cooperate with the treatment and tell Huashidu about her problem. But Bei Yunj was also a little scared. She was afraid that Huashidu would hesitate if he knew. She was afraid that he would not be able to wait for her to recover completely. She was also afraid that Huashidu would think that she was trouble and treat her as a strange person like those people. He was even more afraid that one day, she would really be unable to control her emotions and do something. But she still wanted him. It was Song Yao's first time seeing this person not confident. She couldn't help but smile. I don't know if you have no confidence in yourself or in him. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and glanced at Huashidu, before walking towards Yu Jilin. I'll go look for a friend first. Okay, Song Yao replied. At this very moment, Yu Jilin was on the phone outside. Why are you looking for me? Luo Xie insisted. Whose banquet are you attending? Your goddess, are you happy now? Yu Jilin didn't hide it. Alright, I'll hang up first. Go play by yourself. Anyway, he didn't tell anyone that he was attending Bei Yunj's banquet. After hanging up the call, Yu Jilin did not expect to see Bei Yunj. Miss Pei, I have something to talk to you about. Bei Yunj glanced at him. The two of them were chatting in the corridor, and did not notice Luo Xie not far away. Luo Xie was stunned. This was a banquet? Chapter 12:11. The unclear memories in Luo Xie's mind suddenly became clear. He froze and remembered that at K University, when the hackers attacked the system, Bei Yunj was walking around with the computer. Later on, when he went to look for Nancy, the candy on Nancy's laboratory table was also prepared by Huashidu for Bei Yunj. And this time in Yuncheng, he had seen Yu Jilin, who was helping with the treatment, with his own eyes. He had walked with Bei Yunj more than once. So, it was Bei Yunj. Luo Xie's pupils constricted and he subconsciously muttered to himself, impossible. How could a new scientific researcher, who had won an international award, be a girl in her early 20s? After Luo Xie came back to his senses, he saw Zhou Yu in the courtyard. He immediately grabbed his arm and walked into a dark corner. He asked impatiently, who is Bei Yunj? Zhou Yu was shocked. Why are you here? Let me ask you, is Bei Yunj? Luo Xie's hands were trembling. He didn't know if he was nervous or afraid. Zhou Yu's gaze swept to the man who was smoking on the second floor, before he regained his senses. Yes, Dr. Luo. Master Du had long known that Bei Yunj was Bei Yunj. Otherwise, the scientific research community would not have really hidden this secret for Bei Yunj. Luo Xie thought of what he had said in front of Bei Yunj, and his murderous intent disappeared. He gritted his teeth. Why didn't you say so earlier? This was a secret to begin with. Zhou Yu said confidently. Also, Master Du has been giving you a chance. You were the one who despised Miss Pei and dealt with the matter. Luo Xie. F***ck Luo Xie turned around and saw the man on the second floor tapping away the cigarette ash with his fingertips. He raised his eyebrows and looked at him casually. Luo Xie took a deep breath. He knew that it was definitely not a coincidence that he had accidentally learned this secret this time. Huashidu had calculated the path for him to take. Your master is really good. Luo Xie was so angry that he almost couldn't speak. His voice was hoarse. Zhou Yu. What could he do? Is this the first day you met him? Luo Xie walked upstairs angrily. His face was extremely dark. It was obvious that he was looking for trouble. Huashidu, are you still? Could he still be human? However, in the next second, before Luo Xie could finish speaking, he saw Bei Yunj looking at him coldly. Luo Xie's face was full of vulgarities. Dr. Luo, this is my place. Who are you looking for trouble with? Bei Yunj asked with a faint smile, blatantly protecting the man behind her. Luo glanced sideways at the man behind Bei Yunj and raised his eyebrows lazily at him. A mouthful of blood was stuck in his throat. What a dog! Is he even human? Yin Yin, Luo Xie should be looking for me. The corners of Huashida's lips curled up. He calmly scratched Bei Yunj's chin as if he was coaxing her. When Luo Xie saw this scene, his brain froze. His goddess had been abducted by his brother just like that. Then go home early. Don't drink, Bei Yunj reminded her. Okay. Luo Xie was expressionless when he saw that the two of them were as unrestrained as usual. After Bei Yunj left, Luo Xie took a deep breath. Huashidu, you're really good. I was fooled by you. I didn't intend to fool you. Huashida said calmly. She didn't want you to know. Then you're deliberately letting me know now? Huashida bit the cigarette and took a puff. He blew out a beautiful smoke ring and said unhurriedly, There's something wrong with the way your little junior brother looks at my child. Chapter 12:12. Then, Huashidu casually put out the cigarette in his hand. It's good that you two are restraining each other. He raised his eyes. Besides, aren't you more professional? A professional doctor wouldn't have any thoughts about a patient, right? Luo Xie. He had already dealt with him at the root, so he was placed by Bei Yunj's side. Luo Xie took a deep breath. When he thought of what he had said to Bei Yunj, he wished he could beat himself to death. Don't be sad. Hearing the man suddenly speak after a moment of silence, Luo Xie thought that Huashidu wanted to comfort him. So he looked up at him. However, he did not expect to hear Huashidu say unhurriedly, No matter what, you don't have a chance. Luo Xie. Why did he expect Huashidu to be a human? A few days later, Yun University officially started school. However, Yun University also had a tradition that freshmen had to stay in the main school. As a result, Bei Yunj, who had never stayed in school before, was a little uncomfortable. However, looking at Huashida's behavior during this summer vacation, Bei Yunj felt inexplicably unhappy. Are you sure you don't have anything to tell me? In the car, Bei Yunj asked. Even Sing Su felt a chill run down his spine as he lowered his head and lowered his head. As expected, he looked up and saw Bei Yunj's expression that said, Aren't you King coaxing me? He then turned to look at Huashidu. His Master Du's originally cold peach blossom eyes were now smiling affectionately. No matter how he looked at it, he had an expression that said, My child is so cute. Sung Su. He didn't understand. He really didn't understand what kind of special interest this was. Do you have to stay in the main school? The man licked his lips and whispered into her ear. Yes. Bei Yunj leaned lazily against the car window. We can't be special, right? Sing Su lowered his head silently, but he thought to himself, Haven't you been special enough? Who knew? The man asked slowly. What about the family members? Can't they stay with them? Bei Yunj. Your university stays with them? Brother went to Neely University. There's no such rule. Bei Yunj. After getting out of the car, Bae-yunj suddenly tugged at the edge of the man's suit jacket, revealing the man's white shirt underneath. Hwashido also bent down obediently and listened to her tiptoe. He blew into her ear and asked, "Didn't brother say that everything will be mine if I do well? Brother, don't you know what I want?" The man, who had always been lazy and abstinent, had his pale pupils congealed at this moment. The soft and greasy hot breath by her ear made her Adam's apple tighten. "Brother, I'm already 20. I've already grown up." This ambiguous and playful sentence almost destroyed Hwashida's rationality for more than 20 years. This kid did it on purpose. She had the guts to talk to him like that. The next moment, Bae-yunj let go of her hand, pulled open the handle of her suitcase, and prepared to leave. Sang-soo immediately stopped her. "Miss, there's no elevator. Master do and I will send you up." "No need, I can do it myself." Bae-yunj glanced at the gazes gathered around her. The man had never kept a low profile. The extended black luxury car made passers-by unable to help but take a few more glances. Fortunately it was Hwashido. If this did not stop Chin Yu and Chin Lang, those two hot faces would make it impossible for her to live a good life in school. "Brother, see you during the holidays." Hwashido looked at Bae-yunj and felt that this child was up to something. After they left, Hwashido sat back in the car and slowly let out a breath of foul air. "How are the preparations going?" Chapter 12-13. It'll take another half a month, Sang-soo said carefully. Hwashido turned the expensive watch on his wrist carelessly, thinking of how the girl had leaned close to him just now. That faint fragrance made it difficult for him to control himself. It burned his heart that had calmed down for a long time. Born in a prestigious family like the Hwa family, Hwashido had seen a lot of ugliness and obsession in the industry since he was young. However, his natural coldness and the Hwa family's innate upbringing made men accept the secular world, but they also scoffed at things like lust. But now, what was growing crazily in his mind was the desire he had once scoffed at. Especially when Bae-yunj said, "I'm 20 years old. I've already grown up." The moment Hwashido closed his eyes, he recalled the scene of Bae-yunj going downstairs to drink water in her white pajamas. Her fair and slender legs were swaying. The man opened his eyes unhurriedly. His pale-colored pupils were unfathomable, but he chuckled hoarsely. This child had done it on purpose. She had only teased him on purpose when she left. At Yin University, the sound of cicadas under the scorching sun and the green trees made people's mood brighten. Bae-yunj, on the other hand, pursed her red lips. She was wearing a black mask and a face mask, but her back view attracted people's attention. The senior at the freshman reception had sharp eyes. When he saw Bae-yunj, he immediately ran over. "Junior, which faculty are you from?" Bae-yunj regained her senses and took out her notice to look at it. "Physics department." The senior was speechless. What kind of a mortal was this? Did she only know which faculty she was from when school started? What a coincidence. I'm from this faculty too. I got in with 734 marks back then. What about you, junior? The senior looked up and said proudly. Only then did he realize that Bae-yunj's pretty eyes were looking at him emotionlessly. "Come, let's sign for our faculty." Bae-yunj hummed faintly and followed the cue to sign, ignoring the discussions around her. There was nothing else to talk about. They were just wondering if Bae-yunj, who was wearing a mask and a hat, would be a great beauty. Then they talked about Chin Yo-jiao from the music faculty next door. She was probably the new campus belle of Yin University. Damn, 735 points? This year's college entrance exam is famous for being tormented. Top student, top student. The senior who was in charge of signing autographs couldn't help but sigh. Brainiac didn't smile. Just so. In a top-notch institution like Yin University, everyone had a faint sense of anticipation. They also knew that everyone here would have good results. However, Bae-yunj turned his head and stared straight at Song Yao, who was queuing in the philosophy department. He did not hear anyone's conversation. What's going on? Why did this young lady keep staring at the new department belle from the philosophy department next door? Could it be that there's a grudge between them? A few of the seniors felt that the following plot might be very exciting. Could it be another love rival drama between the ex and the current one? Next, Bei Yunj retracted her gaze and walked to the registration form to fill in her name. Junior sister, how was your college entrance exam? How many points? Just SOSO. Bei Yunj did not mention the results. Instead, he quickly wrote down his name, collected his things, and walked towards the philosophy department. Hearing this, the senior thought that she had gotten in because she was too embarrassed to say it, so he did not ask. However, the more he looked at the name, the more familiar it looked. Bei Yunj, have you heard of this somewhere before? The senior beside her, who had felt Bei Yunj's cold aura, did not plan to continue talking to her. He said numbly, where have I heard of it? She's this year's top scholar. Top scholar. End of chapter. Chapter 12-14. The senior stood up suddenly and saw their college entrance examination top scholar suddenly hug the gentle-looking, but indifferent philosophy department belle from behind. Why did the scene look so orangey? That's the college entrance examination top scholar? After the seniors regained their senses, they stood up abruptly. Previously, in the office, they had heard the computing department boast that the top scholar would definitely enter their department. They did not expect the top scholar to enter their physics department. At this moment, just as they thought that the gentle and distant philosophy department belle would push away their department's top scholar, they saw the department belle turn around and take off Bei Yunj's black mask. They could not see the big boss's true face clearly, but that extremely beautiful face made them feel like they had been struck by a god from 10 meters away. How could the college entrance examination top scholar look like this? The creator was too unfair. Is our department going to have a school bell? The senior asked in a daze. I think so. Bei Yunj saw that Song Yao's face was red from the sun, and the tip of her nose was sweating. He took off his hat and covered her head as if there was no one else around. No, you wear it. Song Yao refused. I have an umbrella in my bag. Bei Yunj gestured for her to open her bag. So, the surrounding Yin University students saw the subtle intimacy between their school bell and department bell. Were there too many useless things in their minds? Song Yao opened the umbrella again, and Bei Yunj naturally scooped something into her pocket. After taking the candy, he ate it. Are you a robber? Song Yao asked from the bottom of her heart. Bei Yunj maintained her composure. She was so good that she had forgotten herself. Did I steal your heart? Song Yao was speechless. The senior who handed out the information sheet also heard the dirty words. What the hell was this? Bei Yunj liked to tease Song Yao very much. Seeing her expression that said, I'm numb, it was much more pleasing to the eye than her usual docile face. However, she did not expect that her shameless words would cause thousands of posts on the school's forum. Later, even Huashida found out about it. On the way, Bei Yunj and Song Yao returned to the dormitory together. They were originally in a good mood. But later, she found out that she and Song Yao were not in the same dormitory. Why are you on the 5th floor? Bei Yunj asked. Song Yao said, the philosophy department is on the 5th floor. Bei Yunj. Then why am I on the 4th floor? The physics department should be on the 4th floor. Song Yao thought that Bei Yunj was unhappy and told her that she would accompany her to the canteen for dinner after tidying up the dormitory. This was the first time Bei Yunj had to suffer in silence. She did not tell Song Yao that before school started, she had hacked the school's website and changed her dormitory. However, Si Qingyan probably found out and changed it back. Bei Yunj felt that Li Siqing's behavior was inappropriate. Very good. However, she had no choice but to follow the arrangement and head to her own dormitory. 409. Hey Ning, you're amazing. You actually scored 739 points in the college entrance exam. A girl praised. The girl who was praised smiled. No, there are bonus points for the college entrance exam. Su Xianing, who was playing games, was expressionless and could not be bothered to respond to such meaningless words. But you're the one with the highest score in our physics department, right? Haining chuckled. How is that possible? With that said, the door was suddenly pushed open. Bei Yunj was still thinking about Si Qingyan and did not release the cold aura on her. So she was caught off guard and met her roommates. End of this chapter. Chapter 12-15. Seeing Bei Yunji's cold aura, fear inexplicably appeared in the eyes of the others. However, Bei Yunji glanced at the 4 people who had arrived and greeted them casually. Hello. Bei Yunji was not good at interacting with people, and did not like meaningless socializing. In the eyes of others, he was indeed not easy to get close to. Even Song Yao had sent him camellia cakes for a week or two. Bei Yunji could not help but go over and ask, "Don't you have anything to eat today?" Song Yao had also thought that Bei Yunji looked like the ragdoll cat she had raised in the past, so she could not help but hit on Bei Yunji. Hello, my name is Du Mingting. My name is Hai Ning. When Su Xianing saw Bei Yunji, she was in disbelief. Why did you choose physics? When Bei Yunji saw Su Xianing, he remembered this girl's golden words. If I meet you at Yin University in the future, I will still report you. How shameless of you to get someone to do your homework for you. Bei Yunji lazily placed his luggage in front of him and asked casually, "It can't be because of you, right?" Su Xianing's face distorted, and she was so angry that she wanted to say something but stopped herself. F***CK, why did she bump into this person everywhere? Was she haunting her? Do you know each other? Du Mingting asked. Hai Ning maintained her smile and did not speak. However, Su Xianing laughed coldly and mocked. Who doesn't know this year's college entrance examination top scholar? With that said, even the classmate who was already lying on the bed beside her rolled over and got up to see the face of this year's college entrance examination top scholar. The college entrance examination top scholar. It was one thing to have a high IQ, but wasn't it too much to look like this with a high IQ? I think so. Bei Yunji tidied up the bed. These words made Hai Ning's smile freeze. However, she was not sure how many points this year's college entrance examination top scholar had and how much higher she was than her. How many points did you get in the college entrance examination? Her roommate continued to ask. Su Xianing interrupted faintly, 749. When Su Xianing found out about this, she had mixed feelings. This bad student who had asked Song Yao to do her homework for her had actually become the National College Entrance Examination top scholar. In an instant, the dormitory fell silent. This was due respect to the top scholar of the college entrance examination. How did he do it? Only 1 mark was deducted from the essay? Bei Yunji answered truthfully. I wrote 100 words short in my essay. Everyone else. Wasn't this too arrogant? Was this the confidence of a big shot? I remember my teacher saying that 12 years ago, there was a big shot in another province who would deduct points if he wrote 100 words less. But our province is so strict, and we can only deduct 1 point. The student on the bed gasped and felt his scalp go numb. Those who entered Yin University had the arrogance of a top student. However, this was a big shot contestant who dominated the college entrance examination this year, who would want to show their presence in front of this person. Only Hai Ning pursed her lips and glanced at Bei Yunji with an unsightly expression. She felt an inexplicable sense of injustice. Then let's go downstairs together later, Du Mingting suggested enthusiastically. Suddenly, Bei Yunji's cell phone rang in her pocket. Bei Yunji glanced at the note and said casually, "You guys go ahead. I have something to do." With that said, Bei Yunji walked out. Only the 4 of them were left with different thoughts. She was absent from her first dormitory activity. She's the college entrance examination top scholar. She doesn't want to play with us. The girl on the bed sneered. Unexpectedly, Su Xianing, who did not speak much, sneered. Only cows and sheep gather in groups. I have something to do too. Chapter 12-16. Hearing this, the expressions of those who were discussing changed. After Su Xianing left, she gritted her teeth and sneered. What are you so arrogant for? At first, when they saw that Su Xianing had been cold to Bei Yunji, they thought that Su Xianing had a bad relationship with Bei Yunji. However, they did not expect Su Xianing to speak up for Bei Yunji. However, Hai Ning smiled and said to them, "Oh right, I brought you some gifts. Don't mind them. With that said, Hai Ning gave each of them a box of chocolates, while Du Mingting's eyes lit up. This chocolate is very expensive. The market price in the country is close to 10,000 yuan. Hai Ning, you're too polite. The other roommates instantly warmed up and looked at her with envy. She casually had a few boxes of chocolates that were close to 10,000 yuan. No matter how they looked at it, she was a rich young lady. Hai Ning smiled calmly. You're welcome. I usually like to eat this brand. Then, Hai Ning's eyes darkened, and she placed a box on Bei Yunji's table. Because of this box of chocolates, the roommates started to talk to Hai Ning about everything. In the School of Computing. Why did you call me? Bei Yunji asked. Si Qingyan rubbed his hands and could not help but hint crazily. Master Pei, when are you coming to my laboratory to play? I'm not free. Why? He had waited so long. It was not easy for this little ancestor to go to university, but she was telling him that she was not free. I also want to know why Song Yao and I are not in the same dormitory. Bei Yunji raised an eyebrow and stared at him. Hearing this, Si Qingyan instantly felt guilty. He was indeed the one who did this. Si Qingyan had a feeling that Bei Yunji was not so well behaved, so he specially checked the dormitory list before school started. Si Qingyan explained, Yunji, there are exactly 18 people in the philosophy department, so there are 3 dormitories. You're from the physics department. Isn't it too obvious to squeeze people out? Those who didn't know better would think that Yin University was behind this. Don't be angry. How about I treat you to a meal? Si Qingyan took out his faculty card and said generously. Those who didn't know better would think that he was going to treat Bei Yunji to a 5-star restaurant. Bei Yunji was speechless. Alright, why are you studying physics? Are you going to change your career? Si Qingyan finally remembered. Bei Yunji said casually. Old master made the decision. It doesn't matter what I learn. Si Qingyan was speechless. To this big shot in front of him, it was indeed the same no matter what he learned. After all, it was just in name, and the school had specially approved that he did not need to attend classes. The other professors couldn't teach her anything. The cafeteria. Anyway, it was Si Qingyan's treat, so Bei Yunji called Song Yao out. Yin University's cafeteria was famous for its delicious food, so Bei Yunji never complained about having too much. However, when everyone saw that Professor Si Qingyan, who usually didn't appear with the students, was actually carrying plates beside the 2 girls, they couldn't help but take a few more glances. Why did Professor Si seem to be eating with 2 freshmen? After all, he was a famous good-looking professor in Yin University. Everyone couldn't help but take a second look at him. The discussion on Tieba was also going crazy. F***CK. 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 Why is our Yin University's high and mighty Professor C together with 2 female freshmen? Danger warning. I saw it too. It's in the cafeteria. One of them was Song Yao. Popular starlet Song Yao. Professor C can't possibly like students, right? No way, no way. There's no need to be anxious upstairs. Go next door and take a look at the 2 freshman couple posts. They've already posted a few hundred posts. I think Yin University is the top couple. What are you thinking about? Someone has already exposed it. The college entrance examination top scholar and the department belle have a very good and stable relationship since high school. The college entrance examination top scholar? The newbie king of 749? End of this chapter. Chapter 12-17. I'm crying. I worked so hard to be in the same school as Sister Yao. But in the end, I saw her coupling with someone? Let's go and take a look at the school bells forum next door. Originally, Song Yao and Qin Youjiao were popular. But the moment the new king entered the school, the votes skyrocketed. She directly suppressed the other young ladies and made them the department belle. As expected of the official match of Sister Yao. The new king is heaven-defying. Do you need me to talk about the new king for everyone? The 4th heir of the Qin family, Qin Yu and Qin Lang's biological sister, has known Sister Yao since high school. I'll secretly add Candy. The female lead of Qin Yu's new MV is Sister Yao. They knew each other since high school. No wonder the new king hugged her waist the moment she came up. He's crazy. The people who were still discussing Professor C were instantly brought into the CP pit. Room 409. The few of them were still gossiping when suddenly, someone knocked on the door. The moment Du Mingting opened the door, she saw a familiar senior. Hello, I'm Wei Jimin. Wei Jimin? The head of the publicity department of the student union? The girl on the bed immediately walked down and said excitedly, Senior Wei. I'm Chao Yingying from the physics department. Hello. Wei Jimin smiled, and the others immediately looked at Hai Ning. Hai Ning, is senior sister here to look for you? Du Mingting teased. Hai Ning was also surprised. She grabbed her skirt nervously, but she could not help but smile in her heart. I don't think so. Hai Ning had heard of the name Wei Jimin before. She was the eldest young lady of the Wei Corporation, and had many connections in school and society. Reality had proven that one of the benefits of university was connections, such as the classmates around her. Hai Ning also wanted to use this opportunity to get to know the senior, but she did not expect Wei Jimin to come looking for her on the first day of school. Before Hai Ning could be happy, she heard Wei Jimin ask, Bei Yun should be from your dormitory, right? Instantly, the atmosphere was silent, and it was a little awkward. Hai Ning's smile froze. Senior Wei, are you here to look for Bei Yunj? Chao Yingying also said, Senior, she's not in the dormitory. Wei Jimin said with a smile, I know. She and Song Yao are eating with Professor C in the canteen. Professor C doesn't like to be disturbed when he's eating, so I'm here to submit an application form. When Bei Yunj comes back, can you help me tell her? I hope she can join the publicity department. Hai Ning, and the others didn't look too good. Professor C Qingyan from the computer science department? But how did Bei Yunj know someone like that? After Wei Jimin left, Chao Yingying sat on the chair, and could not help but complain angrily. What roommates? He ate with Professor C and didn't bring Song Yao along. No wonder he's not willing to eat with us. He thinks we're troublesome. Chao Yingying looked at Hai Ning. Hai Ning, you are too kind. You are giving chocolate to such a person? Hai Ning just smiled, her heart unable to calm down. Where did Bei Yunj's connections come from? Song Yao and Si Qingyan knew each other. After Bei Yunj finished dinner, she was shamelessly dragged to the laboratory by Si Qingyan. She helped him until around 9 o'clock, before it was completely over. However, she did not expect that when she returned to the dormitory, the door was locked and the key was useless. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows, and a dark look flashed past her eyes. In the end, she walked to the 5th floor very naturally. The next day, the girl from the philosophy department almost went crazy when she saw Song Yao get out of bed, and there was still movement under the blanket. End of this chapter. Chapter 12:18. Wasn't their department spell too awesome? There was someone on the bed? The others were frightened, afraid that Song Yao was a boy under the blanket. However, when they saw the long hair exposed under the blanket, they heaved a sigh of relief. I'll go buy breakfast. Get up quickly. Song Yao tied her hair up and went out to buy food after washing up. The other roommates looked down. 10 minutes later, they saw a fair and slender hand reaching out and holding the bed railing lightly as she walked down slowly. When Bei Yunj slept, she only wore a black singlet. When she got up, she casually put on a white cotton shirt that was so thin that it was almost transparent. After she got out of bed, she sat on Song Yao's seat with her clothes in a mess. The girl's eyes were slightly red, and when she raised her charming eyes, she was so lazy that it made people blush. She felt that something had happened last night. When Bei Yunj saw Song Yao and her roommates looking at her, she said hoarsely, "Hello." Hello. Why did she feel that the couple post in school was strangely real? The top scholar of the college entrance examination came to their dormitory to sleep with Song Yao on the first day. Bei Yunj actually did not sleep the entire night. There was no Huashida's scent, nor was there that stupid bear she had personally sent over. Her old habit had acted up again. However, Bei Yunj did not have the habit of troubling others. Seeing that the lights in her dormitory were switched off, she simply came up to look for Song Yao. When Song Yao came back with breakfast, the people in the dormitory were flattered. After eating some, Song Yao suggested going to her dormitory with Bei Yunj to take a look. Dormitory 409. Su Xianing saw Bei Yunj with Song Yao and laughed coldly. It's your first day, and you're sleeping in someone else's dormitory. Isn't Song Yao's dormitory more fragrant? Song Yao and Su Xianing did not have a good relationship and had never eased up. Your dormitory was locked from the inside yesterday, Song Yao said calmly. Su Xianing frowned. How is that possible? I was the last to return to the dormitory. I didn't lock it. Hearing this, Song Yao's eyes swept over the others. Seeing a trace of panic flash past Chao Yingying's eyes, she immediately understood. Maybe someone was careless. Song Yao finished speaking as if nothing had happened, and Chao Yingying heaved a sigh of relief. When Chao Yingying saw Haining walk in, she quickly smiled and said, Bei Yunj, Haining brought you some chocolate. It's on your table. It's worth more than 10,000 yuan. Yes, thank you. Bei Yunj glanced at the chocolate on the table and hummed in response. Then, she placed the snacks Song Yao had bought for her on the table. Haining casually glanced at the snacks. They were all cheap goods from convenience stores. The smile on her face deepened. Haining, why is the dean looking for you so early in the morning? Du Mingting asked. Haining couldn't hide the joy in her eyes. She couldn't help but look at Bei Yunj. Let me speak as the representative of the freshmen. I thought that the director would think that you're the freshman representative, Yunj. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and didn't say anything else. Congratulations. Everyone else. Yesterday in the laboratory, Bei Yunj had even rejected the representative of Yincheng University from the International Academic Conference. How could Si Qingyan be stupid enough to ask Bei Yunj if she wanted to be the freshman representative? Chao Yingying looked down on Bei Yunj's perfunctory attitude and said with a meaningful smile, People who feel uncomfortable because of this are too petty. Song Yao suddenly looked at her, as if she had seen through all her unbearable thoughts. Her eyes were still gentle. Yes, who knows what someone will do if they feel uncomfortable. Chao Yingying's face was livid, but she was speechless. Chapter 12:19. Song Yao's gentle and smiling gaze made Chao Yingying feel uncomfortable. She felt that she seemed to know something. Bei Yunj glanced at Chao Yingying casually, and suddenly remembered the chocolates on the table. She took out a stack of tickets from her book, and placed it on Haining's table. She said carelessly, I happen to have a few tickets for the competition. I'll give them to you. With that said, Bei Yunj left with Song Yao. I really have to hand it to this kind of person. She exchanged your box of chocolates for a few hundred tickets? Chao Yingying mocked. She glanced at the game tickets, and didn't think they were worth much. Bei Yunj was clearly taking advantage of her. Su Xianing glanced at the tickets and chuckled. The VIP tickets for the Maps of the Gods summer competition are priceless. A few days ago, my friend got the tickets through a scalper. It's 27,000 yuan per ticket. With that said, Chao Yingying's expression froze, and her eyes landed on the stack of tickets again. Du Mingting was shocked. 27,000 yuan per ticket? Was he crazy? It was not new for scalpers to raise the ticket prices, but she did not expect the tickets to be so expensive. Even Haining's expression changed, and she looked at the stack of tickets instinctively. There were at least 10 tickets in Bei Yunj's stack. Su Xianing glanced at Chao Yingying. Don't provoke her for no reason. If you get taught a lesson one day, you won't even have a place to cry. Bei Yunj was not someone with a good temper. If they really annoyed her, this group of people would at least lose a layer of skin. Haining composed herself and thought to herself that Bei Yunj might be a little rich, but in Yun University, she was the one who would be the center of attention. She glanced at the freshman's speech, heaved a sigh of relief, and started reading again. The freshman's speech of Yun University was more international. It was a bilingual speech, so there was a lot of content. And Haining had to bite this hard bone before tomorrow's speech. In the past, it was always the foreign language department, or the top scholar of the college entrance examination, who gave the speech. But this year, the slot was given to the physics department. Therefore, she could not let others look down on her. The next day, Haining changed into her uniform, and stood by the rostrum in high spirits. She heard people discussing the freshman representative's speech. That freshman representative must be very powerful. That's for sure. Every freshman representative is a big shot. Hearing these discussions, Haining's mood relaxed. She even found Bei Yunj in the crowd, and the smile on her face deepened. But in the next moment, the discordant voice made Haining's face change. Can't the freshman representatives give an off-script speech? The person who spoke was the new student who got second place in the national examination. He was not convinced that Haining was the representative of the new students. Wei Jinmin had an awkward look on her face. Indeed, some teachers had suggested that the freshman representatives give an off-script speech, but this was too difficult. She was also afraid that she wouldn't be able to wrap things up when the time came. After all, Yin University's freshman speech was trending and on the news every year. Unexpectedly, Chung Zihuai, who was in charge of the event, also asked calmly, "Can't we go off script? If she makes a fool of herself, she'll be on the news." Wei Jinmin lowered her voice and said, "So I just want her to be more familiar with it. Is this the standard of this batch of freshmen?" Another senior from the student union also crossed her arms and said in a sarcastic tone. But in reality, the freshman representative of Yin University had never gone off script. After all, it was a bilingual speech. Haining's face was ugly. She clenched her fists and listened to the sarcasm around her. Her eyes fell on Bei Yunj, who was laughing. She hid her gloominess and said with a smile, "I can go off script in Chinese, but I'm not very good at foreign languages. Why don't you find someone who scored full marks in foreign languages to give a speech with me?" End of chapter. Chapter 12:20. Haining made up her mind. Even if she was going to embarrass herself, she would drag someone down with her. The second-ranked freshman did not speak. His foreign language skills were indeed not good. But even if you scored full marks for the foreign language paper, you can't go off script at the last minute. Wei Jinmin frowned. Haining smiled and said, "I can go off script one paragraph at a time. My partner only needs to translate. Don't worry, I won't say too much at once." Are there any freshmen who scored full marks for the foreign language paper this year? With that said, even the person who spoke suddenly thought of this year's college entrance examination top scholar. He was a true genius, the new king of the top students. Then go and find Bei Yunj from the physics department. Wei Jinmin was sent to find Bei Yunj, while Haining was carrying a script, unable to hide the ridicule and laughter in her eyes. The second-ranked freshman looked at Haining for a while and said sarcastically, "Haining, you really know how to do things by pulling that top scholar along at this time." How could he not tell that Haining wanted to find a scapegoat? Bei Yunj was still sitting behind Song Yao, watching Song Yao talk to her roommate. She played with Song Yao's hair for a while. Seeing that Song Yao was ignoring her, she raised her beautiful neck and leaned back. "I'm going to make a fuss, Tian Tian." Song Yao was speechless. Song Yao's roommate, who had a good relationship with Bei Yunj, said, "Brother, I'm still listening." Was he so blatantly looking down on her existence? "It's good that you heard it." A certain Pei closed his eyes lazily and raised his eyebrows at his imaginary enemy. Song Yao's roommate was speechless. She did not expect to be so childish when arguing with a big boss. However, this big boss's temper was much better than she had imagined. As long as she bought food for Song Yao, Bei Yunj would bring her some. Suddenly, they saw senior Wei Jinmin, who was very famous in school, running to Bei Yunj panting. "Junior, help. What's wrong?" Bei Yunj took off her hat and looked at Wei Jinmin. "It's just that everyone wanted the freshman to give a bilingual speech at the last minute. But Haining can't memorize that foreign language speech and wants you to help translate it." The moment Wei Jinmin finished speaking, Song Yao's originally gentle voice suddenly turned cold. "Help translate? Senior sister, don't tell me you don't know how difficult it is to translate Yin University's bilingual speech? Are you treating Yunj as an artificial intelligence by asking her to translate temporarily?" It was her first time seeing Song Yao's gentle eyes filled with coldness. Wei Jinmin was terrified instantly. Everyone was afraid of making a fool of themselves, but the actions of these people were nothing more than roasting Bae Yunj on the fire. Haining agreed. She's going off script one paragraph at a time. As long as Yunj translates it simply, there's no need for her to read too much, Wei Jinmin said. Bae Yunj played with her black hair. After a while, just when Wei Jinmin thought that Bae Yunj would not agree, the corners of Bae Yunj's eyes suddenly curled up. She licked her lips and said, "Sure, but I also have a request. I want to see if you can help me with it." Wei Jinmin: "What request?" "Someone pulled Song Yao and me into the student union and helped us block it." Bae Yunj's casual words made the corners of Wei Jinmin's lips twitch. Wasn't this request too ruthless? Who wasn't eyeing this year's newcomer king covetously? Wei Jinmin took a deep breath. "Okay." Song Yao said. "Yunj, the speech is trending. You." Bae Yunj smirked and rubbed Song Yao's head before leaving. "It's fine. Wait for me to come back." Chapter 12:21. Song Yao looked at Bae Yunj's back view, wanting to say something but hesitating. In the end, she could only purse her lips and remain silent. Soon, Bae Yunj changed into Yin University's uniform backstage and walked slowly towards Haining and the rest. The second-ranked freshman stared at her and smiled. "You're the top scholar in the National College entrance examination?" He thought that this person would know when to back down and would not be so stupid to agree to such a thing at the last minute. After all, if she lost face, she would lose face in the country and even internationally. Bae Yunj hummed calmly and was not in a hurry to look at the script. He only poured himself a glass of water and glanced at Haining, who was memorizing the script attentively. Wei Jinmin was about to go crazy when she saw that this man was not anxious at all. "Bae Yunj, aren't you going to familiarize yourself with the script first?" Why was it that everything that happened to her didn't seem to be in a hurry? Bae Yunj raised an eyebrow. "Do you have a copy for me to see?" At this moment, Wei Jinmin and Haining looked at each other, and she could not help asking Haining, "Are you sure you can go off script?" Haining suppressed the nervousness in her heart. "I can." Bae Yunj glanced at Haining and lowered his head, flipping through the documents on his phone in boredom. "Bae Yunj, it's not a small matter to lose face during a speech." The second-ranked freshman could not help reminding her. "I know." With Bae Yunj saying this, the rest of the people could not say anything. In the last few minutes, Haining handed the script to Bae Yunj. She relaxed her eyebrows and smiled. "Yunj, take a look at the script too." Bae Yunj looked up at her with interest. When their eyes met, Haining immediately turned her head away in a sorry state. She had a feeling that Bae Yunj seemed to know everything. Bae Yunj took the script slowly and glanced at the content carelessly. Seeing this, Haining heaved a sigh of relief and could not help but smile. However, Chung Zihuai looked up at Bae Yunj with a mocking expression. Did he really think that Haining would memorize it completely? Until the freshman ceremony started, Haining and Bae Yunj stood on the podium. The spotlight and livestream cameras landed on them, and they had already become the focus of the venue. Especially Bae Yunj's flawless face. Even if she stood lazily at the side, she was still very eye-catching. "Song Yao, Bae Yunj is so pretty." Song Yao's roommates were almost becoming fans of Bae Yunj's face. Song Yao was still nervous about Bae Yunj's performance, so she looked up at her absent-mindedly. However, the livestream happened to capture Song Yao's gaze on the stage, and the camera followed Song Yao's gaze to Bae Yunj. Down to the up to the end, at the end of the stage, to the stage to the stage to the stage to the stage to the stage. The live stream was filled with screams. F***CK. F***CK. Yun University's looks are too good this year. Everyone agrees that Song Yao is pretty. What's wrong with that young lady on stage? What a smile. I'm going to die. Her looks were too outstanding. So much so that when the camera swept past Bae Yunj, no one was in the mood to care about anyone else. Everyone. This is the school belle of Yin University, the top scholar of this year's college entrance examination. Sister-in-law's fans are here. I'm crying for my sister's face again. If my couple's cameraman can control the camera like this, I won't be unable to eat candy. Wait, what sister-in-law? Did I just get online? There were always people who were outside the situation and did not know that the person on stage had once become popular. Chapter 12:22. Friend above, did you cut off the internet a long time ago? The discussion in the live broadcast room didn't last long before Haining began her speech as a freshman representative. Halfway through the speech, Haining stood in front of the aerial camera and was inexplicably nervous. She even changed the script and forgot to pause a long section of the speech. F***ck, why did she change the script? The senior who was proofreading the script almost cursed, Wei Jinmin, who was in the broadcast room, saw Haining read a long section of the speech and couldn't help but feel her scalp tingle. She immediately turned off Haining's microphone. But it was too late now. Haining, who also realized this, also changed her expression. She was already halfway through her speech, but when she came back to her senses, she couldn't help but look sideways at Bei Yunji's reaction. She secretly hoped that Bei Yunji would be flustered next. But then, Bei Yunji just casually pressed down on the microphone in front of her, and the following foreign language speech was extremely smooth and standard. The members of the publicity department gradually relaxed, and their eyes were filled with amazement. F***ck. Haining can change the script at the last minute to such a standard? The senior from the foreign language department couldn't believe it. Wei Jinmin watched Bei Yunji's unhurried speech for a few minutes and finally relaxed. She sat down paralyzed. Fortunately, Bei Yunji is still here. If it were anyone else, they would have been killed by Haining. Haining poured out half of the thousands of words in one go, but she said that she would give a speech section by section, leaving gaps and gaps for Bei Yunji to translate. Wasn't she deliberately harming others? Seeing Bei Yunji's calm side profile, Haining finally came to her senses and couldn't help but shiver. How could this be? She thought that Bei Yunji was relying on her good foreign language skills. So she looked at the script and waited for her to translate section by section. But what was the situation now? Bei Yunji really listened to her change of words at the last minute and could directly translate it on the spot? Or did Bei Yunji secretly look at her speech yesterday? Haining's expression was particularly ugly. When Bei Yunji finished translating, she woke up from her daze and hurriedly continued the next section. However, just as the speech was about to end, Haining, who couldn't concentrate, suddenly got stuck and couldn't remember the next sentence. This attracted the attention of all the teachers and students in the school. The people in the broadcast room were even more dumbfounded. Can Haining do it or not? At this moment, Haining's expression changed as well. Just as her heart turned cold, Bei Yunji, who was beside her, suddenly lowered her lips and took over her speech very naturally. This smooth rescue operation avoided the scene of a car accident. The teachers of Yinhua University, who were used to this kind of scene, couldn't help but look at him with admiration. F***ck, did that girl forget her lines? The top scorer's father's rescue operation is so F***king cool. +1, I can see it too. What kind of god is this? He memorized his own speech and also remembered someone else's? The top scorer's father speaks English so well, and it's so standard. I don't have anything to do. I'm just here to kowtow to the top scorer's father and pray that my monthly exam will go smoothly. Thank you, father. Pass a cigarette to the father of the top scorer. Please bless me to pass the exam. At this moment, everyone in the publicity department was so excited that they almost hugged Bei Yunji's leg and called him father. Amazing! This is the strength of the top scorer of the college entrance examination. Everyone couldn't help but sigh and sweat for Haining's forgetfulness. Chapter 12:23. Even the second freshman who had been picking on Haining just now was speechless after seeing it. Bei Yunji had only flipped through the script backstage, but after going on stage, she became everyone's reassurance. Not only was she stable, but she could also control the situation and save Haining. Her actions were really amazing. After Bei Yunji's final bilingual speech ended perfectly, the applause below the stage lasted for a long time. At this moment, Haining, who was sweating profusely, finally realized what an embarrassing thing she had done just now. She actually forgot her lines at the last minute? And Bei Yunj saved her? Realizing this fact, Haining's face turned pale, and she left the stage with Bei Yunj. Backstage, Wei Jinmin almost couldn't help but hug Bei Yunj enthusiastically. Yunj, you're too amazing. How did you do it? You even remembered Haining's script? Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and loosened his tie. It's not much, just enough to remember. Instantly the entire venue froze. What kind of hateful memory was this? No wonder this father was slumped on the sofa, just now with a, "You called me over to save the situation" look. However, from the way Haining recited backstage just now, everyone could tell that Haining more or less wanted to embarrass Bei Yunj in public. However, when Haining forgot her lines, Bei Yunj still took the school's reputation into consideration. This was really the behavior of a big boss. Haining pursed her lips. Senior, I'm sorry. Just now. Aya, why are you apologizing to me? You should thank Yunj. If she didn't save the situation, who knows what would have happened? Wei Jinmin said with a smile. However, Haining's expression darkened even more. Of course she knew that as a Yin University student, her every move would be magnified. In the eyes of the public, as the freshman representative, as long as she made a small mistake, it would easily cause public opinion. Because Yin University was the top university in the country. Haining took a deep breath. Bei Yunj, thank you. You're welcome. Bei Yunj's casual and perfunctory tone made her attitude very clear. She did not intend to maintain a false relationship with anyone. Even the people from the publicity department, who had always been quick-witted and good at making connections, realized that this college entrance examination top scholar was the one who wasn't easy to get along with. Bei Yunj then looked at Wei Jinmin and smiled. Senior, I'll be depending on you then. Wei Jinmin. Sure enough, it was a case of returning what one borrowed. After Bei Yunj left, the others surrounded Wei Jinmin and asked curiously, Minister, what did you promise Bei Yunj? That's right, that's right. Does she want to join our publicity department so that you can get her out of the interview? Wei Jinmin took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and put on a fake smile. She asked me to block the people from the student union. She doesn't want to join any department. Everyone. They had underestimated the boss's insanity. Other people would think of ways to get into the student union, hoping to gain more connections and experience. But this guy was different. He found it annoying. When Haining saw that they were all talking about Bei Yunj, she couldn't catch her breath and left. After the speech, Bei Yunj opened the group chat. Indeed, when she saw that Si Qingyan had recorded a video of her speech and sent it to the group chat, she even sighed. Our family has become successful. She doesn't like the representative of Yin University at the International Academic Conference and went to be the freshman representative. Suddenly, Bei Yunj regretted not choosing Beichuan University back then. P.S. Good night. Thank you for your hard work in helping Master Pei hit the rankings. Chapter 1224. On the other side, Haining had just arrived at the dormitory with red eyes when she locked the bathroom door and cried inside. Everyone could tell that Haining did not perform well this time. Haining, it's just that she didn't perform well this time. Don't worry. Du Mingting frowned at the door. Chao Yingying sneered and said sarcastically, that person performed quite well. She's even a roommate. Why didn't she comfort Haining? Then, she said to Haining, Haining, I believe that you will be the most outstanding in our faculty in the future. As soon as she finished speaking, Su Xianing, who was eating an apple, laughed indifferently. What are you laughing at? Chao Yingying's expression changed. Su Xianing pursed her lips coldly and couldn't be bothered with Chao Yingying. She carried her bag and went to the library. Chao Yingying was so angry that she wanted to curse. But the next moment, Haining walked out again. Chao Yingying saw Haining's red eyes and immediately comforted her. Haining, what's so great about being the top scholar of the college entrance examination? Isn't she still sitting in the same classroom as you? I believe you can win against her. Then, a strange glint flashed across her eyes as she smiled at Haining. Haining, when the class gathers tonight, you have to perform well. Our form teacher is our vice dean. When Haining heard this, her expression gradually improved, and she bit her lip again. She wouldn't lose to Bei Yunj every time. At night during the class meeting, Bei Yunj was still supervising Si Chunyan and giving him advice from time to time. This scene stunned the graduate students who were led by Si Chunyan. What was going on? This junior was a freshman in their school this year? Why did it look like she was leading Professor Si in an experiment? Si Chunyan was checking the data at the side. Bei Yunj looked at the class message, and his eyelids twitched. I'm going to the freshman class meeting tonight. The graduate students widened their eyes. She was really a freshman. But did their computer science department have such a capable freshman? I'll apply for leave for you. Si Chunyan did not even look up. Bei Yunj sneered. I'm from your faculty? Si Chunyan. The graduate students. She was really from another faculty? Let's go. Bei Yunj took off her white coat and walked towards the door. The night was as dark as ink. Bei Yunj had just arrived at the teaching building when she suddenly received a message on her phone. Huashidu, in the dormitory. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. She licked her cheeks and replied slowly. He's not here. What happened? After a while, Bei Yunj saw the man's reply. At the gate of your school. Bei Yunj felt as if something was scratching her heart. I'm in the teaching building. Bei Yunj sent her location. About 7 minutes later, the man replied. Go downstairs. Bei Yunj couldn't help but smile. She lazily propped up her head and read the message. A few minutes later, as soon as Bei Yunj went downstairs, she saw the man in a white shirt and black pants. All eyes were focused on him, but his pale peach blossom eyes were still a little light. He still didn't seem easy to get along with. Bei Yunj heard the discussions of the girls around her and pursed her red lips unconsciously. When she walked in front of the man, Huashida happened to turn around and tilt his head slightly. He curled his lips. Little classmate, good evening? The man's low voice was very pleasant to the ears, and it was extremely seductive in her ears. Coupled with the man's proactive expression, it was simply cheating. End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.